Hi everyone, welcome to CAT 22 Slot 3 video solutions from IMS. This is Amit Panchmatia and I will be going through each and every question of the LRDI and the cons section of the slot 3. This video will definitely help you to understand your mistakes which you have made in slot 3 if it was your slot, or it will also help the CAT 23 students or any other student preparing for other exams or for CAT for the future years.
First passage. Sociologists working in the Chicago school tradition have focused on how rapid or dramatic social change causes increases in crime. The moment I read this line, so I get to know that author is talking about that there is some sort of relationship between social changes and crime. What sort of relationship is that? So as we read further, we get to know that the more disorder or disorganization is there in a society, the more is the crime in that particular society. So author says that the location of University of Chicago provided an excellent opportunity for Park, Burgess, and McKenzie to study the social ecology of the city. Shaw and McKay found that areas of the city characterized by high levels of social disorganization had higher rates of crime and delinquency. So if I have to make the topic of this passage, I'll probably say that rapid social changes increase crime. And what is it that author is talking about in this particular paragraph? That social ecology study says that there is a proportional relationship between crime and rapid social change, which means when social change happens rapidly, the crime also will go up. That's the whole thing. When we go to para 2, now before even going to para 2, the thing that should be in our mind is that, okay, why exactly authors are saying this thing? The sociologists are saying this thing, that rapid social change is going to lead to crime. Who is doing that crime? What are the reasons behind it, and so forth, and maybe the remedial measures. Once we have this thing established in our mind, that it becomes easy to navigate through rest of the paragraph. And in most of the cases, you will find that what you were thinking, that okay, what should be the contents of the paragraph ahead, it actually becomes easier, and you become more and more confident when you realize that what you were thinking has actually become true. In the 1920s and 1930s, Chicago, like many American cities, experienced considerable immigration. Okay, so the reason was immigration. Rapid population growth is a disorganizing influence, but growth resulting from in-migration of very different people is particularly disruptive. So the problem of rapid social change happens because of migration. What type of migration is being talked about in this particular paragraph? Author is saying the migration of both native-born whites and blacks from rural areas and small towns, and the foreign immigrants also. So author is saying that, okay, at the start of 20th century, Americans were predominantly a rural population, but by the time mid-century came, most of them were living in urban areas, which means there was a lot of migration happened from rural to urban areas. The social lives of these migrants, as well as those already living in the cities they moved to, were disrupted by differences between rural and urban life. According to social disorganization theory, until the social ecology of the new place can adapt, this rapid change is a criminogenic influence. Author is saying unless you adapt to this situation, this new place can adapt, that okay, there is a significant sociological change that has happened. It will always be a criminologic influence. So author says that for most rural migrants, even many foreign immigrants to the city looked like and eventually spoke the same language as natives of the city into which they moved. And because of this, rapid social integration happened with them. But it was not the case with African Americans and most foreign immigrants. So author is saying first that the reason for such social disruption, social disorganization is immigration. This immigration is happening from rural areas to urban areas, who all are moving, both blacks and whites, as well as foreign immigrants. But for some foreign immigrants and for most rural migrants who looked like the natives of that city and spoke the same language, social integration was easier and quicker. But for African Americans and most foreign immigrants. This was difficult. The moment I read this, I get to know that maybe now author will say that majority of such crime was happening in those colonies where blacks were there. These people who did not get rapidly, into the society. So if I read the paragraph 3, I get to know that this is what it is. Author says, in these same decades, America experienced what has been called the Great Migration. The massive movement of these African Americans out of the rural South into the northern cities. The scale of this migration is one of the most dramatic in human history. These migrants, unlike their white counterparts, were not integrated into cities they now call home. These migrants, unlike their white counterparts, were not integrated to the cities which now they call their home. And then author says that it was because of significant level of racial residential segregation, which means, okay, for example, if today a person moves from city A to city B, then the natives of city B would probably ensure that the people coming from city A live in their city, but separately. They should not intermingle. Failure to integrate these migrants, coupled with other forces of social disorganization, such as crowding, poverty, etc., caused crime rates to climb up in the cities. So first thing is that it is because of that racial segregation that this thing is happening, because they were not integrated into new cities. Para 4. Foreign immigrants during this period did not look as dramatically different from the rest of the population as blacks did, but the migrants from Eastern and Southern Europe who came to American cities did not speak English and were frequently Catholic, while the native born were mostly Protestant. The combination of rapid population growth with the diversity of those moving into cities created what the Chicago school sociologists called social disorganization. So author is saying it is not the blacks only who are rather causing, if I have to say that way, the social disorganization. It is also happening with whites as well. But these are the whites who have different religious connection as compared to that of natives. And they, of course, do not also speak the same language as that of the natives. Fifth paragraph is not there. So this particular passage is very easy. Author is simply saying that there is a relationship between social disorganization and crimes. And this social disorganization is happening because of migration from rural to urban. And the people who are migrating, of them, the blacks and the ones that do not speak English and the ones that have different religious connection are experiencing slow integration into that society, while the others are actually getting integrated rapidly. That's it. Okay, so let's see the questions. Which one of the following sets of words, phrases best encapsulates the issues discussed in the passage? Lovely question, easy question. Basically, we have to understand what is the main idea of the whole passage. All the set of words, all the set of keywords that capture the main idea, or the particular option which captures most of such keywords that capture the main idea, should be my answer. What's the issue that is being discussed here? That social disorganization leads to high rate of crimes. It happens because of migration, and it is more, prevalent with blacks. It should be prevalent with blacks and foreign immigrants not having religious and lingual similarities with the natives. So let's see which option is like that. Chicago school, social organization, migration, crime. Makes sense. We talk about Chicago school. That's the beginning of the passage. Social organization, disorganization, basically it's social organization. We are talking about migration because that has a relationship with social organization and crime. So could be the answer. We are going to keep it. Let's talk about second, rapid population growth. Heavy industry. Heavy industry, I think, is not mentioned, so that should not be my answer. Durkheim, Marx, Tony's, Shaw, that's fine. But these are just sociologists. Just the name of sociologists cannot explain the main issue, and hence these cannot be keywords. So third also should not be the answer. Then, okay, fourth one, Chicago School. Okay, native born whites, European immigrants, and poverty doesn't really capture the idea of social organization here or disorganization, which is very important for this passage. Because then you can talk about migration, which also is not mentioned here. Fourth also should not be my answer, and hence first. A fundamental conclusion by the author is that, okay, what is it that author is concluding? Author is simply saying that social changes happen when migration happens. And among those migrated, blacks, foreigners, foreigners specifically, with no lingual or religious similarities, are more pertaining to social disorganization and hence high rate of crimes. So let's see which option captures that idea. So first one, according to European sociologists, crime in America is mainly in Chicago. No, passage is not concerned with where the crime is most. So this is not the answer. Fundamental conclusion is something that we are trying to draw, which means the main point of the author. The best circumstances for crime to flourish are when there are severe racial disparities. Kind of a confusing option, but see, racial disparities are not the best circumstances. Even white face the same, that is mentioned here. So we can't infer that best circumstances for crime to flourish are when there are severe racial disparities. Third, to prevent crime, it is important to maintain social order through maintaining social segregation. Now, this particular option is wrong on two fronts, and this is a very confusing option also. Passage gives you the relationship between crime and social disorganization. We can't infer that crime can be prevented if we maintain social order. First thing. Second, also, passage says that social segregation actually caused these crimes. So the option is wrong because it infers that as long as you can maintain social order through social segregation, you can prevent crime. So that's opposite to what is being mentioned. Third also should not be my answer. Rapid population growth and demographic diversity give rise to social disorganization. Absolutely correct. That can feed the growth of crime. Exactly. That is what my answer is. Next. Which of the following is not a valid inference from the passage? Basically, not a valid inference. So everything that can be inferred from among the options should not be your answer. So first you have to decode the meaning of the question, and then we are going to read the options and we'll see which one is the answer. According to social disorganization theory, fast-paced social change provides fertile ground for the rapid growth of crime. Absolutely, this can be inferred. This is what social disorganization theory is. This is what the passage is about. That fast-paced social change brings a lot of crime. So if it can be inferred, that should not be my answer. Second, according to social disorganization theory, the social integration of African American migrants into Chicago was slower because they were less organized. Yes, social integration of African Americans was slower, but not because they were less organized. It was because of lack of similarities between them. It was because of racial segregation. So we can't infer this, that just because they were less organized, it was a slower movement for them, slower integration for them. No. So this is something I can't infer, so should be my answer. But let's also eliminate third and fourth. The failure to integrate in migrants, along with social problems like poverty, was a significant reason for the rise in crime in American cities. Yes, that's something given, very easy. Differences between urban and rural lifestyles were crucial factors in the disruption experienced by migrants to American cities. Yes, that's also true. Very easily inferred. Third one is given in para 3 and fourth one is given in para 2. So second is the answer, something that I can't infer. Author notes that at the start of 20th century, Americans were predominantly a rural population. But by the time mid-century reached, most of them were living in urban areas. Which of the following statements, listen to me carefully, which of the following statements, if true, does not contradict this statement? The meaning of the question is, basically, every option, if true, that contradicts the above statement, which means any option that says America was not rural population in the start of 20th century, etc., or America was, not the urban America was not the majorly urban population in the mid-century, whatever, basically contradiction of the sentence given will not be my answer, which means any option that agrees with the statement will be my answer. So we decoded the question. Now that's easy. Let's check that out. So demographic transition in America in the 20th century is strongly marked by an out-migration from rural areas. Yes. Why demographic transition is happening? Because people are migrating from rural areas. This is something which is in line with the main statement that initially in the beginning of 20th century, it was majorly a rural population, but by mid-century, it became an urban population. So that's fine because of migration. So one agrees with it, should be my answer, could be my answer. Let's check out 2, 3, and 4. Second one says the estimation of per capita income in America primarily require data from rural areas. If data from rural areas is contributing to the estimation of per capita income in mid-20th century, this means that most of the population still is living in rural areas. So this contradicts with the main statement. So that is not my answer. Third, again, 1952 means mid-20th century, right? Option says that most Americans lived in rural areas. This also contradicts the main statement, hence not my answer. Population consensus conducted in 1952 showed that most Americans lived in rural areas. So this is opposite to what is mentioned in the main statement, that in mid-century, most of them were living in urban areas. Economists have found that throughout the 20th century, the size of labor force in America has always been largest in rural areas. Option 4 says that throughout the 20th century, major portion of labor force was coming from rural areas only. That means most of the people were living in rural areas. Again, contradicts the main statement. So first is my answer. Very easy. All right. First paragraph. This is kind of a good passage. Interpretations of the Indian past were inevitably influenced by colonial concerns and interests, and also by prevalent European ideas about history, civilization, and the Orient. Author is saying how Indian past has been interpreted. It is actually influenced by colonial concerns. How maybe British wanted, British wanted it to be inferred. That's all. Then author says Orientalist scholars studied the languages and texts with selected Indian scholars. So first thing is that interpretation of Indian past is influenced by colonial concerns. Interpretation of Indian past is also influenced by prevalent European ideas about history, civilization, and the Orient. How European people thought about history, civilization, and the Orient. What is Orient? Orient means related to Asian civilization. So how Europeans thought about Asian civilization, this also has influenced the interpretation of Indian past. So basically it means that it has been influenced by colonial concerns only. Orientalist scholars studied the languages and the text with selected Indian scholars, but made little attempt to understand the worldview of those who were teaching them. So you are saying that, author is saying that interpretation of Indian past is influenced by the prevalent European ideas about the Orient. and how Oriental scholars have studied it, if they have studied it in the wrong manner, so of course, European ideas would also be influenced by that. And subsequently, the colonial concerns, which means interpretation of Indian past might be wrong. This is the thought process of this whole passage. Now, passage is probably trying to tell you uh, what is this interpretation, why that happened, and so forth. So author said that Orientalist scholars were very selective in their studies. So they researched or studied the languages and texts with selected Indian scholars. But they did not make a wholesome attempt to understand the worldview of those who were teaching them. Basically, Orientalist scholars did not go on ground. They just cherry-picked a couple of people, couple of, say Indian scholars, and they studied from them. So they thought, okay, this is how Indian society is. They did not make an attempt to go on the ground. And the readings, therefore, are something of a disjuncture from the traditional ways of looking at the Indian past, which means this is the reason why interpretation of Indian past is distorted. If you understand this much, your job is done. You have understood the passage. And that's why it was important for us to spend some time on this first paragraph. Now let's see what author is trying to say in rest of the paragraphs. Then author says, now you're talking about Orientalism. What is Orientalism, how it has been influenced, or who it has influenced, or how it has been influenced by someone else, whatever the case be. Author says Orientalism, which we can understand broadly as Western perception of the Orient, how West is perceiving the Orient. This is called Orientalism. This fueled the fantasy and the freedom sought by European Romanticism, particularly in its opposition to the more disciplined neoclassicism. A lot of times when we look at isms, we get fearful, but we don't have to be. So let's read it further and understand broadly what author is trying to say. The cultures of Asia were seen as bringing a new romantic paradigm. Another renaissance was anticipated through an acquaintance with the Orient. And this, it was thought, would be different from blah, blah, blah. Basically, author is saying that Orientalist view fueled the fantasy of Western or European poets. These romantic English poets, Wordsworth, Coleridge, etc. They thought that cultures of Asia, basically, they thought that Orient are bringing a new paradigm. Okay. What was that new paradigm? Let's check that out. So author is simply saying that it was believed that this Oriental Renaissance would liberate European thought from increasing focus on discipline and rationality that had followed from the earlier Enlightenment. The Orientalist thought the idea of Asian civilization was such that these Western poets were thinking that maybe this Renaissance, this newness is going to liberate the European thought, which is much more rationalized, much more disciplined. What does author mean by that? This is what author means by that. However, this enthusiasm gradually changed. Why? To conform with the emphasis later in the 19th century on the innate superiority of European civilization. Earlier, they thought that it's a new beginning. But now they are thinking, no, it's not a new beginning, because they had to align themselves with the colonial thought. The interpretation of Indian past has been influenced by colonial thought that is mentioned in first paragraph. That is what author is coming back to. Author is saying, now this enthusiasm gradually changed. Now they were thinking that European civilization is the most superior. Oriental civilizations were now seen as having once been great, but currently in decline. The various phases of Orientalism tended to mold European understanding of Indian past into a particular pattern. Author is saying that the so-called discovery of India was largely through selected literature in Sanskrit. Selected literature. So this interpretation emphasized on one aspect of Indian culture. So basically they thought that, hey, over the last 3,000 years and so forth, that this culture has been, it was believed that Indian pattern of life was concerned with metaphysics, but little attention was given to more tangible aspects. So author is saying that the prevalent view, the colonial view, the view that suited the colonialism about India or Indian history was that Indian history or Indian spirituality is rather concerned more with the metaphysics and the subtleties of religious beliefs, but it was less concerned about the tangible aspects. Now, what did this lead to? German Romanticism endorsed this image of India. So India became a mystic land. Author is saying this is a half-baked interpretation of India because these Orientalists have used selective literature, selective scholars to understand India. They have not gone on ground. So this made India mystic. So every single thing was just mystic here. So even if I'm just moving this mouse, this also, according to this view, must be imbued with complex symbols. This guy is moving his mouse. Maybe he is trying to invoke a specific spirit that makes the cursor go here and there. So this is something I'm just making it up. I'm just trying to make you understand. So author is saying a dichotomy in value was maintained. Indian values being described as spiritual and European values as materialistic. And there was little attempt, little means no attempt, to juxtapose these values with the reality of Indian society. So the view that Indian aspect is more spiritual and Western aspect is more material was kind of incomplete because it was not really tested or understood on ground. And this has been more firmly endorsed by a section of Indian opinion during the last 100 years. And then it was a consolation to the Indian intelligentsia. If you have seen the movie Swades, then Shah Rukh Khan during the Dussehra festival, when Shah Rukh Khan goes to that school, there was a guy who says that but there is something that Americans don't have, is that our culture. Okay. And then Shah Rukh Khan says that they have their own specific culture, we have our own specific culture. We can't say that theirs is bad and ours is good or vice versa. Right. So this is what author is trying to say, that because of this thought process that has been prevalent, that okay, Indian idea is more spiritual and Western idea is more materialistic, has actually been a consolation to the Indian intelligentsia, that they thought that West is technically more superior, but we were culturally more superior. And because West is technically more superior, that's why they could colonize us. And sometimes it also serves as, a salve for having been made a colony of Britain. Okay. Salve means sort of a remedy or snehlep, marham. So that's basically the whole passage is about. So passage talks about how a distorted understanding of Indian history has led everyone to believe something that colonialists wanted to establish. Let's check out the questions. It can be inferred from the passage that to gain a more accurate view of a nation's history and culture, scholars should do all of the following except to get an accurate understanding. What is it that scholars should not do? What is it that scholars should not do? That's my question. Question says scholars should do all of the following except. So according to the passage, scholars should understand a culture thoroughly from every perspective. They should go on ground and they should not be selective in choosing what, whom to learn from. Because Orientalists did it that way, which was wrong. What should scholars do? They should understand a culture from every perspective. So scholars should do all of the following except, which means what is it that scholars should not do? So 1, 2, and 4. talk about understanding a culture from all the perspectives. This is something that scholars should do. So this is not my answer. Scholars should widely read. Scholars should examine their own beliefs. Scholars should examine the complex reality of a nation society, yes. But they should not be biased. They should not develop an oppositional framework. And hence my answer. So very easy question. We just had to decode what author is trying to say. Okay. In the context of the passage, all of the following statements are true, except which of the following statements is not true? What is it that you cannot infer? Okay, let's check that out. Indian spiritualism served as a salve for European colonizers. No, Indian spiritualism served as a salve for Indians. That, it's because of our lack of technical superiority, we were colonized. But spiritually, we are amazing. So it was a sneh-lep, it was a marham, it was, a remedy. When we think that, okay, no, that's okay. This is a salve for something that salvages a situation, basically. It was a salve for Indians, not European colonizers. So this is something I can't infer. But all three things, in 2, 3, and 4, we can infer. Orientalist understanding of Indian history was linked to colonial concerns, yes. Indian texts influenced Orientalist scholars, yes. And Orientalist scholarship influenced Indians. Author says that Indian texts have influenced Orientalist scholars. That is mentioned in para 2. And then what they made eventually, what Orientalist scholars said, they also transformed the thought process of Indian intelligentsia. So 3 and 4 also can be inferred. 1 can't be inferred. Which one of the following styles of research is most similar to the Orientalist scholars' method of understanding Indian history and culture? Okay. Any option that states that without thorough research, someone is concluding something about a particular culture, that should be the answer. Which is most similar to the Orientalists' method. This is what Orientalists did now. Read a couple of books, talked to a couple of people, and gave their understanding on, okay, this is what Indian history is like. Very easy question. So the point is that in this whole passage, it was important to understand the idea of the passage thoroughly. Questions were more or less easy. Anyways, option 3, analyzing Hollywood movies to make out what contemporary America is. This is how Orientalist scholars also did the same thing. For example, if I am the Orientalist scholar and now I have to interpret American history and I have to see what American culture right now is, what would be the best way to do that? The ideal way is to go to the ground, talk to a lot of people. But if I have to follow the Orientalists' way, what will they do? They will maybe pick out a couple of people. They will talk to them. They will say, okay, whatever they are saying is true. So what do? I go watch a couple of Hollywood movies. I believe that whatever Hollywood movies are depicting is what is happening in their culture. Oh, okay, this is American society. So 3rd is the answer. This is the most similar. In every other place, we are talking about, in every other option, 1, 2, and 4, we are talking about a thorough understanding of something, going through various things, reading the accounts, studying the artifacts. But 3rd is not about going on the ground and studying. So this is the answer. 4th, it can be inferred from the passage that author is not likely to support the view that, okay, let's check every single option. What is author not likely to support? Okay. It can be inferred from the passage that author is not likely to support the view that Indian culture acknowledges the material aspects of life. No. Author says that Indian culture gives less emphasis to the material aspect. This means that Indian culture acknowledges that there is a material aspect. So author will support this view, right? This is what author is saying anyways. So this is not my answer. Second, India's culture has evolved over centuries. Yes, there is a timeline given, 3000 years or something. So definitely Indian culture has evolved over centuries. This is something that author is likely to support. Third, Orientalist view of Asia fired the imagination of some Western poets. Yes, how Orientalists view Asia, how they viewed Asia, this fired the imagination of Wordsworth or Coleridge, whatever was given. So this is also something that author will agree with. India became a colony, although it matched the technical knowledge of the West. No. According to author, according to the passage, India became a colony because it lacked the technical superiority of the West. So this is something author is not likely to support, but 1, 2, and 3 author definitely would support. Very easy passage. Author says that nature has given us everything. First, we took, nature's material as food, fiber, or shelter. Then we, took nature's bounty in the form of raw materials. And now nature is giving us her mind as well. So this is easy. But when we go ahead and read, then we realize that the passage is actually a bit complex. And we also realize that the topic of the passage might not be nature's bounty. It might be something else. So there would be many instances where you would not be able to conclusively figure out the topic of the passage only through first paragraph. So you need to bear this thing in mind. Anyways, let's go to the para 2. Clockwork logic, which means the logic of machines, will only build simple contraptions. Truly complex systems such as a cell, meadow, economy, etc., require a non-technical logic and rather a rigorous one. We now see that no logic except biologic can assemble a thinking device. Author is saying that nature has given us now her mind also. How? That complex systems such as of biology, economics, etc., they require a rigorous non-technical logic. And only biologic can assemble any workable system. That means the logic of nature, the brain of nature, the mind of nature can actually help us understand a workable system. What does author mean by that? Author says that, okay, this is an astounding discovery that one can extract the logic of the bios out of biology and have something useful. That means logic of life, logic of biology is not just for biology. If you take it out, you can actually use that logic elsewhere. Author says a lot of philosophers in the past have suspected that one could abstract the laws of life and apply them elsewhere. But until the complexity of computers and human-made systems became so complicated, it was not possible to prove this. So now that computers are so complicated, now we can prove this thing that logic of life, the BIOS logic, can be applied to complex mechanical systems as well. And then author gave a couple of examples here that some mechanical systems are self-replication, self-governance, etc., they are using this logic. So one thing you need to realize is that when we talk about mechanical system, do not restrict your thought process only to the mechanical things like cars and all that. Mechanical system means something which is mechanical in nature. Okay. And again, when author talks about various types of other complex systems, take it in that spirit of what those systems might look like. For instance, when we saw here that nature has given us her mind also, now we are saying that truly complex systems. Now, complex systems cannot only be biological. Economy is not a biological function, right? So do not really confuse the idea of material system, materialistic system, or mechanical system with just the machines and so on. Anyways, author is saying that the laws of life can be applied to various places and systems outside biology. We have reason to believe yet more can be synthesized and made into something new. Yet at the same time that the logic of BIOS is being imported into machines, the logic of technos is being imported to life. Now author is giving another lane. Author says that on one hand, we are saying that yes, logic of BIOS is being applied to logic of machines. But actually logic of machines is also getting applied to logic of BIOS, basically life. Why author is saying that? So author gives a couple of examples here. Author says that domesticated plants and animals are examples of technos logic applied to life. domesticated plants and animals. How is that the case? Author gives the example of carrot and milk cows, when you are growing their udders so that you can feed the population. You are not doing these kind of changes to say, um, to life, to help a calf, have more milk from its mother, right? It's for humans we are talking about. So we are saying that these are inventions that human will make in future, products that are grown rather than manufactured. So you're not manufacturing a big udder cow, you are actually growing them. So author is saying on one hand, the law of life is being applied to the manufactured items or the mechanical items, and on the other hand, the law of mechanics, the law of technos is being applied to the living items. And then author brings an interesting point here. Author says that this is what genetic engineering is, and this is what bioengineering is. The only difference being that genetic engineering also does what? It tries to improve the strain. So if I have to, make a better yield cow, I'll probably, go for an artificial insemination of my cow with some better quality, bull. Bioengineers do something similar, but their method is more precise and powerful. They both are diffusing. Huh. The genetic engineers are going for organic evolution, and bioengineers are going for more purposeful design. For instance, a genetically modified crop, when you are doing everything at the DNA segmentation. So author is simply saying that this is different from genetic engineering in this manner. But one thing you need to realize is, and there is a question also later, that both genetic engineering and bioengineering are same at the core. It is not about changing something mechanically. And when I say organic, it's not like a cow is trying to find somebody who can provide a better calf on its own. It's still the humans who are doing it. It's just the way is different. So a genetic engineer is thinking that, okay, if I, artificially fuse these two, I'll get this. Maybe I will get this. Maybe I will get this. That bioengineers are being more precise, that they know that, okay, I'm going to do that at DNA level. So definitely it is going to be better. That's the thought process you have to bear in mind. DNA and all these things are not mentioned in the passage, so you should not even bring them when you are answering the questions. Anyways, author says that this overlap between mechanical and lifelike is increasing year on year, right? And words actually will mean nothing because they both will eventually be same. Why? Because so much of development is happening, that now this veil between the organic and the manufactured has crumpled. Because of scientific advancements, this overlap is happening. Mechanical is more lifelike is more mechanical. And now the differentiation between them is getting blurred. That's what author is trying to say. So let's check out the questions. This was a tricky one. None of the following statements is implied by the arguments of the passage except. None of the passage is implied by the argument except, which means what is it that can be inferred from the passage? Let's see. Purposeful design represents the pinnacle of scientific expertise in the service of human betterment. No. Author doesn't say that purposeful design represents the highest level of scientific expertise. Author definitely says that purposeful design accelerates improvements, but it is not the best thing. So we can't infer this. First should not be my answer. Historically, philosophers have known that the laws of life can be abstracted and applied elsewhere. Historically, philosophers have suspected that. This is what is mentioned. But philosophers have known would make it very specific that, oh, they already knew it. Then why were you not taking their word for it? They suspected that. So second, also something which, I can't infer. Third, the biological realm is as complex as the mechanical one, which is why the logic of BIOS is being imported into machines. Okay. Passage says that when mechanical realm, computers, for example, became as complex as biological one, life, we could prove that BIOS logic can be applied elsewhere. What does option say? Option says that because biological realm and mechanical realm is complex, now that's why you can apply the logic, otherwise you could not. So this is something which can't be inferred from the passage, hence not my answer. This was a tricky option. This also is tricky, by the way, fourth one. Genetic engineers and bioengineers are same insofar as they both seek to force evolution in an artificial way. See, although passage says that genetic engineering tries to fuse two different organisms organically, but bioengineers have more control over this approach in that they can design the diffusion according to what they want to achieve. Eventually, they both are same as they force the evolution artificially. Artificially doesn't necessarily have to be that, okay, you have to use, say, a syringe. Artificially means that this is not something which is not natural. This evolution is not natural. And this is something that I can definitely infer, and hence my answer. Which of the following set of words, phrases best serves as keywords to the passage? Okay. So we are talking about manufactured organic application of BIOS logic onto machines and vice versa. We are also talking about genetic engineering, and we are also talking about bioengineering. So the overall idea is that there is an overlap that is happening, and that one, the logic of life can be applied to machine and vice versa, something like that. So let's see what all options are there that are talking about it, and we'll pick up the best one then. Nature, computers, carrots, milk cows, genetic engineering. Passage is not about computers, carrots, or milk cows. They are just the examples of a couple of things, certain things that author is trying to say, which is not even mentioned here. So first should not be the answer. Second, in case of second, again, the word convergence is fine because both mechanical and BIOS is overlapping. That convergence is happening. But again, complex systems, carrots, milk cows, techno's logic is not really capturing the idea. Third, complex systems, yes. Biologic, yes. BIOS, bioengineering, good. Technos, convergence, every single thing is being captured here. Third could be the answer. Fourth, nature, BIOS, technos, self-repair, Holsteins. Again, Holsteins is also an example. It also doesn't capture the idea of bioengineering, which is the whole subject that author is trying to talk about. So between 3 and 4, I would go with third one because it captures most of the information. Good. So that's fine. Third, therefore, is the answer. The author claims that the apparent veil between the organic and manufactured has crumpled to reveal that the two really are and have been of one being. Which one of the following statements best expresses the point made by the author here? Okay. What is it that author is trying to say when he says this? Author says that there is an overlap that is happening. I'm not revealing the options right now. Just understand it. Author is saying that there is an overlap that is happening between mechanical and the life-like things. Why? Because of the advancements that are happening in science. Now that computers and various other things are so complex, now we can say that the logic of life can be applied to them. So this veil is now getting crumpled. The difference between these two is getting crumpled. Why? Not because they were actually the same, but because life is becoming more engineered. Because life is becoming more engineered, this veil is crumpling. Now there is no difference. It's not like they were always the same, and hence first is wrong. First says that they are the same thing. Since always, no. First cannot be my answer. This is a very confusing option. Second, scientific advances are making it increasingly difficult to distinguish between organic reality and manufactured reality. Absolutely correct. Bang on. Third, apparent reality and organic reality are distinguished by the fact that the former is manufactured. This is just play on words. Nothing like this is mentioned. The difference between apparent reality and organic reality is not because one is manufactured and whatnot. Organic reality has crumpled under the wheel of manufacturing. Organic reality has not crumpled. The wheel has been crumpled. Okay. So this is also not the answer. Second, therefore, is my answer. The author claims that part of this bionic convergence is matter of words. Which one of the following statements best expresses the point being made by the author? Once you understand this, it becomes easy. Author is simply saying that it is just a matter of words. So whatever you're calling mechanical or whatever you're calling life will not mean differently now. It is getting overlapped. Words have no meaning. Let's start with option number 4th. Mechanical and life were earlier seen as opposite in meaning, but the difference is getting blurred. That's the answer. Bios and technos are both convergent. We are reading the first one. Both convergent forms of logic, but they generate meanings about the world they are mutual that are mutually exclusive. No, they are not convergent forms of the logic. We are trying to say that something is converging, that there is no difference between bios and technos anymore. A bionic convergence indicate the meeting ground of genetic engineering and artificial intelligence. Nothing like that is even talked about. Mechanical and life are words from different logical systems and are therefore fundamentally incompatible in meaning. No, the problem with words is that the meaning between them is getting blurred. It's not that they are not compatible. 4th is the answer. Here is our passage. As software improves, the people using it become less likely to sharpen their own know-how. Applications that offer a lot of prompts and tips are often to blame. Simpler, less solicitous programs push people to think harder, act, and learn. The moment I read this, I realize that it is talking about that the more softwares are becoming sophisticated, the people are becoming dumber. So that's fine. Maybe technology is making us dumber. That could be the topic of the passage. And the argument that passage is trying to explore is that if a software is not really a lot sophisticated, that helps you think well, think hard. And it also gives you an opportunity to learn. Now, why author is saying that? That should be the very first question in your mind. Second question in your mind should be that, are we talking about softwares, various types of softwares, or we are talking about that sophistication of softwares is not good, or maybe we are talking about something else altogether. Maybe, there has to be a balance between software assisted things and, or you should have to go all manual, whatever the case be. So there are a couple of possibilities that can happen the moment I read this paragraph. And if you have this thing in your mind, then rest of the passage will become easier for you. So let's go ahead and check out our paragraph 2. 10 years ago, information scientists at this university in Netherlands had a group of people carry out complicated analytical and planning tasks using either rudimentary software that provided no assistance or sophisticated software that offered a great deal of aid. So basically, 10 years ago, there were some information scientists. They had a group of people to carry out a couple of tasks without any sophisticated software. The researchers found that people using the simple software developed better strategies, made fewer mistakes, and developed a deeper aptitude for work. The people using more advanced software, meanwhile, would aimlessly click around. There's a question also later you will see on this thing, but we'll talk about it. People who were using advanced software would aimlessly click around when confronted with a tricky problem. The supposedly helpful software actually short-circuited their thinking and learning. What does this mean? That using data from the past, we are sort of trying to conclude that rudimentary softwares or not so automated or sophisticated softwares can help people think better. If you are totally relying on softwares to give you the solutions, then it will actually short-circuit your thinking and learning. According to this philosopher, our skills get sharper only through practice. Perfect. When we use them regularly to overcome different sort of difficult challenges. But the goal of modern software is to reduce your effort. So you become good because of practice. But modern software doesn't want you to do practice because it wants to ease your way through such challenges. Arduous, painstaking work is exactly what programmers are most eager to automate. After all, there is where the immediate efficiency gains tend to lie. In other words, a fundamental tension ripples between the interest of people doing the automation and the interest of people doing the work. So what's the reason for it? The reason is that sophisticated software, or programmers rather, the programmers who make sophisticated softwares, they want to automate things for you. They want to reduce your pain. They want to reduce your challenge. So on one hand, it is making your work, more efficient according to them. But on the other hand, it is making you dumber because you get to practice less. So it's just talking about the reason. This is an easy passage anyways. Nevertheless, automation's scope continues to widen, but still automation is constantly happening. And with the rise of electronic health records, so and so and so and so things, we can see that. Now, author says something important here. Author says that Harvard Medical School professor Beth Lown in a journal article warned that when doctors become screen-driven, following a computer's prompts rather than the patient's narrative thread, their thinking can become constricted. In worst cases, they may miss important diagnostic signals. So author is saying that world is becoming more and more automated. There is more and more automation that is happening in various things. The scope is getting widened. However, we must realize, according to this professor at Harvard, that just relying on software outputs only may actually constrict your thinking. For example, in the instance of doctors, if you're just relying on that, if your software is saying that, okay, this guy's sugar levels are high, then maybe you should cut down on sugar, or you should prescribe this person this much of insulin. So you quickly do that. But you are not really listening to that patient. For example, he says that, he remains a lot stressed, okay, in general. So stress might have something to do with his sugar levels or something. I'm just, giving you a story that there is a possibility that you might miss on something very important because you are not really paying attention to the narration of that patient. You are just relying on your software. So far, 4 paragraphs have happened. And what is it that I'm realizing? That, yeah, author is saying that, hey, don't become extremely reliant on sophisticated softwares. So maybe author will later say that, okay, you don't have to go for softwares at all. Or author will say that you have to balance something out. There is a good chance that he's going to talk about balancing something out, because automation also has some merits. The moment you crack this code that, okay, this is how my entire passage is progressing, your job is done. And that is called active reading, active understanding. Let's go to the next one. Then he gives the example of this guy, Thomas Eric Duncan, who was the first person to die of Ebola virus. Why? Because doctors were just relying on the software. So there were softwares that were capturing a lot of data. That's fine. But author says that these are highly constrained tools. They are optimized for data capture, but at the expense of sacrificing their utility for appropriate tri-agent diagnosis, leading users to miss the forest for the trees. So if you're just relying on the software, there's a good chance you are going to miss something really important, which may lead to certain such fatal situations. So now author is saying that this is one example of how strong or too much reliance on software can be not good. Yeah. Now, what do you think can be the next thing? Maybe solution. Then how to remedy this problem? That is given in para 6, that there is an alternative. What's the alternative? Human-centered automation. That means automation should be there, but automation should take the secondary role. It should work as an assistant. So when the usual things are happening, the software is popping out the general routine checks, the routine checklist. But if something unusual is happening, then software should be able to raise a flag so that human can become alert that no, you can't prescribe all the generic things to this guy. You might have to listen to what this guy has to say. Technology has to become a partner, not the replacement for the expert. So perfect, very simple, very easy passage. That's fine. Let's go to the questions. From the passage, we can infer that the author is apprehensive about the use of sophisticated automation for all of the following reasons, except that. The meaning of the question is, all those options that convey a reason of why author is not in favor of using sophisticated automation will not be the answer. So why author would not want automation? The reasons that are given in the passage are that it constrains your thinking, it misleads the people, it really lets you not think properly, it takes you away from the diagnosis, it can make you, it can make you miss important signals because you are relying on it. So option number 2, 3, and 4 are the options, are the reasons because of which author does not advocate using automation. Author would not want to go for automation because of these 3 reasons. So these 3 will not be the answers. But if computers could replace humans, this is opposite. So this is the answer. If that can happen, then definitely, author would rather be okay with using sophisticated automation. Let's go to the next one. It can be inferred that in this university experiment, one group of people was aimlessly kicking around because. Amazing question. When we read the word doing something aimlessly, we generally think that a person is confused. A person doesn't know what to do. But what author is trying to say through that, when complex problems arise, the people who are too reliant on sophisticated software would just aimlessly click around. What is the meaning of it? They would try to find out where in the software the solution is. They are aimlessly kicking around. Okay, tuck, no solution, tuck, no solution, no tuck, no solution. They have already missed out important signals. They did not talk to their patient, and they are only relying on the software. So when you are aimlessly clicking around, then you are just trying to locate where the answer is, but you don't know where exactly it is. So let's check that out. They did not have the skill set to address complicated tasks. This is a confusing option, but we can't say that these people did not have the skill set to address complicated tasks. When you say doctors do not have the skill set to do complicated tasks, then they are not doctors. Passage is not saying that they don't have the skill set. Passage is saying that they might not be able to master their craft. They might not be able to become good doctors if they just rely on software generated routine. So if you have an MBBS degree, you have the skill set, but you are not really trying to improve yourself on the basis of so many types of new different situations that are coming across because of this software. So first is not my answer. A meaning of aimlessly kicking around is not that you do not have the skill set. Okay. They were hoping that software would help carry out the task. Absolutely. When you are aimlessly clicking around, you are just trying to find out the solution. Could be the answer. Let's talk about third. The other group was carrying out the task more efficiently. It makes no sense. If other group is carrying out the task more efficiently, that doesn't mean that you are aimlessly clicking around. And they wanted to avoid the mistake. That also is very easy to eliminate. Again, aimlessly kicking around is not that they wanted to avoid making mistakes. You are anyhow going to make the mistake if you are aimlessly kicking around and you don't know what you are supposed to do. It's only about that, hey, oh my God, software is not generating the solution. So where exactly I can find that solution? Second, therefore, should be my answer. In the Ebola misdiagnosis case, we can infer that doctors probably missed the forest for trees because very easy. Missing forest for trees means that you have missed out something important and you focused on the trivial. So author says that these software templates are constrained in their utility, which may cause the user of the software to miss out important details for routine information. These are just data capture tools. They will give you what the programming has been. And that's why you are going to miss the forest for trees. So first, the digital templates forced them to acquire tunnel vision. Yes, digital templates did force them to acquire tunnel vision. But why? What is the reason? Is the template at fault here? No. Reliance on those templates is at fault here. So this is a confusing option in that sense. This is not the answer. You are not missing forest for trees because digital templates are to be blamed. No, you must be blamed. Who asked you to rely on digital templates? So first is not the answer. Second, the data collected were not sufficient for appropriate triage. Same reason as first. Here also we are blaming the data, but it's the person who is relying on that data and only on that data who is at fault here. So this is also not going to be my answer. Third, they use the wrong type of digital templates for the case. Again, we are blaming these templates. And author has not even said that templates were wrong. Author has said that templates have certain specific things to capture. So you captured. That's fine. But what after that? They were led by the data processed by digital templates. Yes, the doctors are being led by what the software is generating. What solution is being generated by that software using the data that is fed into it. Doctors are not applying their own brains. And that's why you are going to miss forest for trees. Fourth is the answer. In the context of the passage, all of the following can be considered examples of human-centered automation, except. Okay. What is human-centered automation? Human-centered automation means an automation where human is at the prime side and software is assisting that human. Human-centered automation means that software is not doing everything on its own. It is asking humans to do something. This is what the whole thing is. So question is, which of the following is not the example of human-centered evolution? So any option where there is no opportunity for humans to accept or reject the solutions generated by the software is not human-centered. Option number 1, 2, and 4 are all human-centered because machine is doing something only when asked. So home system is changing the temperature as instructed by the resident. Medical software that provides optional feedback on the doctor's analysis, optional feedback. That means if you ask for it. Softwares that offer interpretations when requested by human operator. But third is not human-centered because machine is doing something on its own. Software is auto-completing the text when the user is writing an email. Software is not asking. Hence, that is my answer. That's it. Here is our first summary question. Tamsin Blanchard, curator of Fashion Open Studio, an initiative by a campaign group showcasing the work of ethical designers, says, so this guy is saying, we are all drawn to an exquisite piece of embroidery, a colorful textile, or even a style of dressing that might have originated from another heritage. But some contrast is there. This magpie mentality, where all of the culture and history is up for grabs as inspiration, in quotes, has accelerated since the proliferation of social media. So one thing is that the mentality that traditional culture and history is up for grabs in the form of designs basically has increased since social media. Okay, since the proliferation of social media. Where once a fashion student might research the history and traditions of a particular item of clothing with care and respect, we now have a world where images are lifted from image libraries without a care for their cultural significance. So instead of resorting to high-end research, now people can just pick up these designs of the social media because there are so many photographs available. And this thing, it is easier than ever to steal a motif or a craft technique and transfer it onto a piece of clothing that is either mass-produced or appears on a runway without credit or compensation to their original communities. So author is saying that, and because of this widespread availability of heritage designs, it is rather easier to steal a traditional motif and paste it on a mass-produced product without giving due credit where it is due. So that's pretty easy. Let's check that out. So first one, taking fashion ideas from any cultural group without their consent is a form of appropriation without giving due credit, compensation, and respect. Absolutely correct. It captures all these things here, that the mentality that traditional culture and history is up for grabs has increased since social media. So one thing is that you are just taking the ideas of the cultural group without taking their consent, and this is a type of stealing. The overall passage is just trying to tell you that this social media, widespread availability of images is actually making people away from thorough research of a culture or a heritage, and is just rather inspiring them to quickly copy and paste it without even giving the due credit. Let's talk about second, third, and fourth also. Second is copying an embroidery design or pattern of textile from native communities who own them is tantamount to stealing, and they need to be compensated. Author doesn't talk about that they must be compensated. You can think about it, and that's fine. But this is not summary. It is more of an inference. So this is not going to be my answer. Third one, media has encouraged mass production. Images are copied effortlessly without care or concern for the interest of ethnic communities. It doesn't talk about a most important thing here, which is stealing. Stealing and not giving due credit. That is what stealing means anyhow. So that this option 3 is just taking you away from the actual thought. Fourth, cultural collaboration is the need of the hour. No, we are not talking about any sort of cultural collaboration also. So this also should not be the answer. Let's go to the next one. So these are the questions, the closed type para-completion questions. That is new basically. So it's a new feature for CAT. So let's check that out, how to do that. Basically, it's easy. Again, very logical. So author is saying when people socially learn from each other, there's a sentence which is given, and then you have to think where this sentence can be fit in the whole paragraph. And there are 4 options given, 4 places given. When people socially learn from each other, they often learn without understanding why what they are copying works. When people socially learn from each other, so if I'm learning from you, they often learn without understanding why they are copying that particular belief, that particular behavior, that particular technology, and how it is working. Think about it. This is a statement that is given. Now think about it. When you are talking about social learning from each other. So it's a good idea to introduce how and why people learn from each other. What's the reason of learning from each other? Can't you learn from someone else or on your own? Then maybe this thing can come up, which is given in the sentence. And then later you can elaborate on the reasons why people copy without knowing how something works. Basically, the next sentence should be an extension of this particular sentence which is given. And the sentence before it should rather introduce this sentence. Let's check that out. The dual inheritance theory says that inheritance is itself an evolutionary system. It has variation. What makes us a new kind of animal and so different and successful as a species is we rely heavily on social learning. So now you are introducing social learning to a point where socially acquired information is effectively a second line of inheritance. The first being our genes. So now you have introduced the idea of social learning and its importance. Why it is important? Then you can pick the sentence and put it here. When people socially learn from each other, they often learn without understanding why what they are copying, the beliefs, the behaviors, and technologies and know-how works. And then you carry on. People tend to home in on who seems to be the smartest or more successful person around, as well as what everybody seems to be doing. The majority of people have something worth learning. Why you are doing this? Why people are copying without knowledge? Because this is the reason that people have something worth learning from them. So the best way is to understand what will come before it and what can come after that. Then you read your paragraph and understand if something like that is mentioned. Or of course, you can plug it as well. The logic should thoroughly flow. An important piece of information you need to bear in mind is whenever you're doing these kind of questions, do understand that the sentence that is going to follow the main sentence that you have to plug in should come directly from this plugged in sentence because it's going to be the extension of it. Could be something contrasting, could be something extending the idea. So here my answer is going to be option 2, and that's the answer. So in this case, my main sentence is, this has meant a lot of uncertainty around. This means something. So you have to introduce something, and then you can say that this has meant a lot of uncertainty around what a wide scale return to office might look like in practice. Okay. So first is something you're introducing, some action you're introducing, and then you're saying that this means a lot of uncertainty around. But then what? So this has to be some sort of a flow. Let's check that out. Bringing workers back to their desks has been a rocky road for employers and employees alike. The evolution of the pandemic has meant that best laid plans have often not materialized. Perfect. This. Bringing workers back to the desk has been a rocky road for employers and employees alike. This has meant a lot of uncertainty around what a wide scale return to office. So you have introduced that you are trying to bring people back to the office, and then you are extending that idea that this thing means what a wide scale return to office might look like in practice. Right? Anyways, so one could be one such option, but let's go ahead and understand that. The flow of workers back into offices has been more of a trickle than a steady stream. Now, between this thing and this thing, now I realize that what means lot of uncertainty, not just bringing people back to their offices. The thing which is bringing uncertainty is that the flow of workers back into offices has been more of a trickle than a steady stream. It was not easy task. It was a trickle. And this has meant a lot of uncertainty around what a wide scale return might look like. So between 1 and 2, 2 therefore would be a better answer. And then it also is justified on the fact that now you are going to say, but you are extending that idea through contradiction. Yet, while plenty of companies are still working through their new policies, some employers across the globe are now back at their desks, whether on a full-time or hybrid basis. Although this has meant a lot of uncertainty, but a lot of people have gone to the desks. Simple. So answer is going to be 2 again in this case. So these were easy. Let's go to the next one. To defend the sequence of alphabetization may seem bizarre. So obvious is its application that it is hard to imagine a reference, catalog, or listing without it. But alphabetical order was not an immediate consequence of the alphabet itself. So one thing is that it might be bizarre to defend alphabet sequence because it has a lot of indexing applications. Thinking about this thing that, why are we doing it alphabetically? It might seem bizarre thinking about this and to defend this because we think that, okay, come on, what is the other way? But it was not actually the initial way. This was not an immediate consequence of the alphabet itself. In fact, in the Middle Ages, scholars were reluctant to categorize things according to the alphabet for religious reasons. But later, how did this thing come into practice? Alphabetical arrangement. Because of government bureaucracy, it quickened the advance of alphabetical order. So these are the 3 points that it was not so easy and so immediate, the adoption of alphabetical sequence. It actually was made to adopt after due efforts. So let's check that out. Okay, the ban on the use by scholars of any form of categorization, but the divinely ordained one, delayed the adoption of alphabetic sequence by several centuries. Author is not talking about ban. Nobody has banned anything. Author is saying that they were just reluctant to use the alphabetical order. So this is not going to be my answer, not a good thing rather. The alphabetic order took several centuries to gain common currency because of religious beliefs, yes, and a lack of appreciation for its efficacy in the ordering of things. Absolutely correct, bang on. So we are saying that there is a lot of effort that went into this thing, to make alphabetic order a reality and rather something usual. Why? Because of religious beliefs, and we did not appreciate it. Now, this is something which is capturing everything. Maybe if there is another option that also captures who brought this alphabetic order in routine, the government bureaucracy, that would be a better answer then. That would be a better answer then. Well, let's check that out. While adoption of the written alphabet was easily accomplished, adoption was not easily accomplished. So third also is not my answer. Unlike the alphabet, once the efficacy of the alphabetic sequence became apparent to scholars and administrators, its use became widespread. It doesn't capture the idea that it took time to make alphabetical order a common occurrence. So that also is not going to be my summary. Second is perfectly capturing that idea that it was not an easy road for the alphabetic sequence to get accepted into the society as an indexing order. So that's all. Next. Parajumbles. Let's see. Various industrial sectors, including retail, transit systems, enterprises, educational institutions, event organizing, etc., have now started leveraging these beacons. Solutions to track these beacon solutions to track and communicate with their customers. So first thing is these beacons. So first you need to introduce beacons. Then why are you using these beacons? To track and communicate with their customers. Okay. So what are these beacons? That is mentioned in fourth one. Beacons are tiny and inexpensive micro-location based technology device, which is given in fourth point. So first is going to be a follower, and definitely first will come after fourth, because fourth is introducing beacons. But let's see. Let's talk about second first. Second is talking about what a beacon does. A beacon fixed on to a shop wall enables the retailer to access the proximity of the customer and come up with a much targeted or personalized communication like offers, discounts, and combos on products in each shelf. So being specific to a type of beacon, so it follows on. What type of beacon I'm talking about? So you are in general saying that what is it that beacon is doing and how it is doing then? So 1, 2 is going to be one sequence. Various industrial sectors are leveraging these beacon solution to track and communicate with their customers, and how, which is given in second. Third, smartphones or other mobile devices can capture the beacon signals, and this distance can be estimated by measuring received signal strengths. Perfect. Again, it is talking about how beacon signals are utilized. This connects with 2. A beacon fixed on the shop wall enables the retailer to access the proximity of customer. How? Third. So, then another thing is beacons are tiny and inexpensive micro-location based technology devices. Now think about it. First aspect is that you need to introduce what these beacons are. That is getting introduced in fourth one. So fourth is going to be my first one, the beginning one. Then fourth is connected with 3. What are these actually? How are they capturing it? So this seems a starter. Then 4, 3. After that, how these beacons are being used by these companies so that they can communicate with their customers, and how you are communicating with these customers, which is mentioned in second one. So 4, 3 is one sequence. Now, how do you do that? 4, 3 is one sequence because 4 is the beginning. And then what are these, which is mentioned in third? Now forget about it. The other sequence you made was 1, 2. One sequence was 4, 3, one sequence was 1, 2. Now I know that fourth one was the beginning one. So the only option is 4, 3, 1, 2. That's all. So this was easy. Next, if I wanted to sit indoors and read or play Sonic the Hedgehog on a red hot Sega Mega Drive, I would often be made to feel guilty about not going outside to enjoy it while it lasts. Somebody is talking about that, hey, if I want to do something, still I'm going to be made to feel guilty. Who is doing that? Maybe his mom, because this is mentioned in second one. So let's check that out. First one definitely is a follower because it is recounting someone's experience. So you need to write down first that why author is saying this thing. This seems to be a starter. My mum, quite reasonably, wanted me and my sister out of the house in the sun. It is introducing the topic. And then later author is going to talk about his plight. Tales of my mum's idyllic sounding childhood in Sussex countryside where trees were climbed by 8 a.m. and so and so. Where was it? Yeah. Tales of my mum's idyllic sounding childhood in Sussex countryside where trees were climbed by 8 a.m. and streams navigated by lunchtime were passed down to us like folklore. So when I was doing this, I realized that it's the same way, our fathers used to tell us, we were swimming across the ocean and then we were going to school. So author is also talking about the same thing, that why mom wanted author and his sister out in the sun, because she's trying to motivate them, and she's saying that, okay, we were doing this thing and you are just sitting at home. So one thing is that 2 seems to be a starter, so 1 will come after that. Then I know that 3 also is going to come after second, because of course second one is the starter, and then why exactly the mom wants to do that. So 2 3 is one sequence, 2 1 is one sequence, and it makes sense then to understand it as 2 3 1, because first mom wants you to go out, and then you are giving the background of it also, and then you are saying that, but if I don't go out, then I would be made to feel guilty. And then fourth is the conclusion. To an introvert kid, that felt like a threat, this guilt, and the feeling has stayed with me. So 1 4, so 2 3 1 4 is the answer here. It does seem to me that the job of comedy is to offend or have the potential to offend, and it cannot be drained of that potential. Rowan Atkinson said of cancel culture. So Rowan Atkinson is saying something about cancel culture, which is that job of comedy is to offend. Second thing is that he's saying that every joke has a victim. That's the definition of a joke. Someone or something or an idea is made to look ridiculous. I think you have got to be very careful about saying what you are allowed to make jokes about. So one thing is that uh, jokes are intended to be, offensive. And this is something he's talking about cancel culture. And then one must be careful about saying what one is allowed to make jokes about. Then he's saying that, but in a free society, one should be allowed to make jokes about absolutely anything. So that's kind of easy. Let's check that out. Victims of jokes must not only be politicians and royalty, but also arrogant people from lower classes should be mentioned by comedians. It doesn't mention an important thing here, which is cancel culture. It also doesn't mention another important thing, that there has to be a freedom about, freedom of joking about anyone. So first is not going to be my answer. All jokes target someone, and one should be able to joke about anyone in the society, which is inconsistent with the cancel culture. Bang on. Perfect. We are talking about that all jokes are offensive, and you should be able to joke about anything in the society. And this is something which is being talked about with respect to the cancel culture. This thing is inconsistent with cancel culture. Every joke needs a victim, and one needs to include people from lower down the society and not just the upper class. Once again, it doesn't talk about cancel culture and freedom of joking about anyone. So third is not going to be my answer. Fourth also is not going to be my answer for exactly the same reason. It doesn't capture the idea, about freedom of joking about anyone. Cancel culture is being talked about. That's fine. So second, therefore, is going to be my answer. It captures all the important segments that are going to be there. Let's go to the next one. The more we are able to accept that our achievements are largely out of our control, the easier it becomes to understand that our failures and those of others are too. Perfect. Now, this seems to be some sort of a conclusion. The more we are able to accept something, that means you might have talked about something already, and then you are sort of giving a conclusion that the more we are able to accept a couple of things, the more we are able to accept all these things, the better it is. So not going to be my starter, definitely a follower. Now, when I say that this seems to be a conclusion, that doesn't necessarily mean that it will be a conclusion. But one thing is for sure, that it is going to be a follower. Second, but The raft of recent books about the limits of merit is an important correction to the arrogance of contemporary entitlement and an opportunity to reassert the importance of luck or grace in our thinking. But it's a contradiction. But the raft of recent books. So first mention something that you can contradict using this but. So this is also going to be a follower. So far, I don't know which one is going to be the first one and how 1 and 2 are going to be arranged. Meritocracy as an organizing principle is an inevitable function of a free society. Makes sense. This could be a starter because it is introducing meritocracy. Now, this connects with 2. Meritocracy as an organizing principle is an inevitable function of a free society. But the raft of recent books about the limits of merit is something which is also important. So 3 and 2 are connected. 3, 2, therefore is one thing. Now, 2 is connected with 1. First, you are introducing meritocracy. Then you are giving an extension to it by giving a contradiction, but the raft of recent books is saying something else. And the more we are able to accept this thing, the better it is. So 3, 2 is connected with 1. So 3, 2, 1 becomes the sequence. And now we can say, and that in turn should increase our humility. What? This acceptance is going to increase our humility. So 4th is going to be the last one. 3, 2, 1, 4. Very easy. That's it.
Hi, let's have a look at the first set from the slot 3. I thought the first set was one of the most difficult ones in terms of solving. Looked very doable. In fact, you get a start to it and then you get stuck somewhere or the other. And I thought that is why the reason this set was difficult. So all those who attempted this slot, that was the feedback I got, that, the set looked very tempting. People started doing it and then they got stuck in a lot of places. Maybe a couple of questions could have been answered based on what they got, but most of the questions could not be solved. So let's have a look what they have told us. So they have told us that there were 4 friends, Pulak, Qasim, Ritesh and Suresh, who participated in a tournament comprising of 8 rounds. So there were 8 rounds in the tournament. In each round, they formed 2 pairs, with each of them being exactly in 1 pair. So suppose if PQ forms 1 pair, so RS is automatically the other pair. The only restriction the pairing was the pairs would change in successive rounds. That means now P cannot form a pair with Q again. P has to form a pair now with R or with S, any one of them, but that's okay. For example, the same example has been given. Now, but again, so that doesn't, now suppose he forms a pair P with R. Then again, we can form a pair with P with Q in the 3rd round. There is no restriction on that. So basically, you just have to look at the previous round and the same partner cannot be there in the next round. That was the rule. In each round, each pair decided whether to play the game in that order or not, in that round or not. If they decided not to play, then no money was exchanged. So if P and Q was 1 pair, then if they played the game, then if they decide not to play the game, that means no money was exchanged. Whatever money they had at the start of that round, same money will remain at the end of the round also. Or if they decided to play, they would have to bet either 1 or 2 in that round. One of them would win that money and the other would lose. So if the bet was 1 rupee, if P wins 1, then Q would automatically lose 1, or vice versa, or same thing with 2 also, right? So now they all started with 10 each. That was very, very important. The following table, now the table, what it shows was the most important thing to understand in this set, because where we all missed out the data was not reading this part very carefully. The following table shows the partial information of the amount that the players had at the end of each of the 8 rounds. It shows every time a player had 10 at the end of a round. So that means if 10 was there at the end of any round, then it shows that every time. So all the 10s which are there have been given. That means no other value, missing value can be 10. Now this was a very, very important rule. Okay. As well as every time at the end of a 8 round, a player had the minimum or maximum amount that he would have had across the 8 rounds. For example, Suresh had 10 at the end of round 1, 3 and 8 and not after any of the other rounds. So 10 he cannot have after any other round. Maximum amount he had at the end was 13 at the end of round 5 and the minimum was ₹8, which was at the end of round 2. At end of all other rounds, he can have only 9, 11 or 12, which means also importantly, he cannot have 13 also. He cannot have 8 also. That means if 13 and 8 are there, they are coming only once. 13, the maximum value will come also once. Minimum value also will come once. And the remaining values can repeat. That was the important part. Now, this was the most important understanding. I think most of the students missed this part out. that 13 and 8 cannot be repeated, the maximum minimum values cannot be repeated. And we also know one more data, Pulak and Qasim had the same amount of money at the end of round 4. That was the kind of only data given. Let's have a look. This is the table given to us. We'll look at the table. Let's have a look at the questions first. What best can be said about the amount of money that Ritesh had at the end of round 8? So I want to know Ritesh's money at the end of round 8. All the options also were weird, 5, 6, 5, 4, 5, exactly 6. So I don't know whether the whole table can be formed or not. What exactly can be said about the amount of money Pulak at the end of round 6? Now again there are 2, 11 or 12, 12 or 13, something like that. How much money did Ritesh at the end of round 4? Round 4, how much money did Ritesh have? Again 2 theta questions. And what was the pair in round 5? Well, very frankly, the questions don't tell me anything, so no point wasting my time over there. Let's start with the table and let's start solving this. They all started with 10 initially, which means the total will always remain 40. So wherever there is only one value missing, that value will come straight away. So this value 12 comes here straight away, 9 comes here straight away, and 7 comes. These 3 values we immediately got, and maybe that is the reason lot of people thought that this set was doable. We got 3 values and hence it looks as if the set can be done. Now let's look at what else can we get. So this pairing becomes PQ with RS because see, PQ, why? Because P has increased from 10 to 12, Q has decreased from 10 to 8. So they are the pair, and these both have not, they are a pair, but they have decided not to play. So they both remain at 10, 10. So PQ is one pair, RS is one pair. Same way I can form, now see, look at P, P has again increased by, P has increased by 1. So we have to look at for who's decreased by 1, R has decreased by 1. So PR is one pair, so automatically QS is the next pair, right? Now let's look at this further. Now I'm going to round 7. Now look at this very, very carefully, because this is 13 at the end. So at the end I have a 13. This can be only 11 or 12. Why can it not be 13? Because if it was 13, then the 13 would have been given to us, or 13 can come only, it cannot, it is not that it can come once only. If it comes twice also, it has been given the rest twice. Both the 13s have been given. So this can be only 11 or 12. Now we don't know what it is, 11 or 12. Now suppose if it was 11, so 11 plus 12, 23, 23 plus 4, 27. Then S would have to be 13. Now is this 13 possible over here? No. Why is it not possible? Because clearly 13 was the highest, so it should have been given again. Anyway from 13 you can't go to 10 in the next round. So this 13 is definitely wrong. So this is definitely 12. And because that 13 is wrong, this 11 is wrong, and this is also 12. So we got one more round, round 7. I think from this we should be able to easily get round the other two also for round 8. So 12 is becoming 13. That means there's an increment of 1, and this is decreasing by 1. This is decreasing by 2. So somebody has to increase by 2. Now Qasim cannot increase by 2 because Qasim's maximum is 12. So definitely Qasim cannot increase by 2. So Qasim will decrease by 1. So Qasim will become 11, and Ritesh will increase by 2. So 6. There was one question around this. By this much we have already been able to answer one question. I think there was one question around what is Ritesh's value at the end of round 8. So till here I thought the set was pretty doable. Now let's start the next one. So we got the pairing also for this. Now you cannot get the pairing for this round 7 because we don't know what is the position in round 6. So don't rush with that pairing. Now let's look at why these can be both only 11. Pay attention. They both, now if I wanted 10 over here, look at this, from 13, if you are going to reach 11 over here, 10 over here, what can you have before that round? Now if you look for Pulak, Pulak cannot be at 9 because his minimum is 10, nothing else for minimum has been given. So this position cannot be 9. It cannot be 10 because if it was 10 it would have been given to you. Now this can be only 11, it cannot be, it could have been 12, but that 12 cannot be possible for Qasim. So this could have been 11 or 12, but that is 12 is not possible for Qasim. So hence it is 11 because both of them are same. So we made use of this statement. Pulak and Qasim have the same value at the end of round 4. So these both became 11, 11. Now 11 plus 11 is 22. So we have 18 more. Now think a little bit. This could be what? It could be actually 6. I know it could be 6 or it could be 5 because you're coming from 9, right? And this is going up 7. But remember, these both have gone down. From 11 they are going down to 10. That means the other two both have to increase. That means they had to be 1 less. So 7 minus 1, 6, and 13 minus 1, 12. Total is 40, and we got that. From here, I'll be able to get round 5 ka pairing easily. Actually, we've gone for the numbers. Pairing can come later. We have gone for the numbers before that. Now, this can be 8 or 7 because from 9, and if I want to come down to 6, this could be 8 or 7 initially. Now, remember that this has gone up by 2. From 8 to 10, it has gone up by 2. Now, this could be 11 or 12, and this could be only 11. Now, let me explain this why. Why can this be only 11? Why can this not be 11 or 12? Because, as we said earlier, 𝐃𝐈 has 12 as the highest, and that has been shown only once. So, therefore, we cannot have 12 for 𝐃𝐈 again. So, 𝐃𝐈 will be 11 only over here. This will be 11 or 12, 8 or 7. Now, you can easily figure out which is eliminated because this is increasing by 1. Something has to decrease by 1. This is decreasing by 2. So, and this will increase by 1. So, therefore, this will become 11. This is going to decrease by 2. And therefore, that will become 8. Now, pay attention, which means what is the pair? 10 has become 11, 9 has become 8. That is one pair. 13 has become 11, 8 has become 10 is one more pair. So, therefore, the pair over here is PS and QR. We'll be able to find out round 4 ka pair also, PQ and RS. And round 5 ka pair also, no, round 5 pair cannot be found. Now, this looks as if it could be found, but it cannot be found. Pay attention. From 11, this is going down to 10. This is also going down from 11 to 10. While these both are increasing by 1. So, we don't know what is the pair. Now, PQ could not be, so next time P cannot pair with Q, but P could pair with R and S both, and hence that is still possible. So, we are leaving this blank. Now, pay attention again. What do we get over here? Now, this was 10. What can it go down to? Can it go down to 9? No, because from 9 you cannot go to 12. Can it go to 12? No, because 12 is already there for 𝐃𝐈 once only. So, hence this will be only 11. It cannot remain 10 also because 10 also would have been given. These are the most important things, that if it was 10, it would have been given. If it was 12, it would have been given. So, the only possible number over here for 𝐃𝐈 becomes 11. This is the place where when I was solving this set, luckily I was not in slot 3, but when I was also solving this set, this is the place where I got stuck badly. So, 10 has become 11 over here. So, this is a definite increment of 1. Now, what happens for Ritesh? Now, this was very, very important. Pay attention, I am going to just clear out all the markings which I have done so it becomes easy for you to interpret. So, this we got the last thing, this is 11. Now, think logically, Ritesh can be only 5 or 6. Now, let's try and do the interpretation. What if it was 6? That means next time it is going to increase by 2. Next time, now these we know anyway, this was, okay, this was definitely 12 and this was also definitely I think 12, right? So, that was correct. We had anyway got this earlier only. So, 12, 12, 4, 12, right? That was 40. Now, this could be 5 or 6. If it is 6, that means next time it will fall by 2. So, somebody has to increase by 2. Now, this cannot increase by 2 because if this was 10 over here, that 10 would have been given. So, it cannot be Pulak. Can this increase by 2? Now, for that, it will have to fall over here by 2. That is not possible. Hence, this can be only 5. Now, this was also a difficult part, how to get this as only 5. And hence, I would recommend you to go through this really carefully. I'm just going to erase that much. Okay, I don't know why the eraser is suddenly not working. Yeah, okay, that's better. So, that can be only 5. Based on that, I will get the next one to be only 12. And after that, Pulak will also be only 12. Now, once we got that, we can start getting round 7 ka pairing. PS and QR will be round 7 ka pairing. PR and QS will be round 6 ka pairing. And based on that, I'll get round 5 ka pairing as PS and QR. According to me, this part, getting this part in an exam pressure was very, very difficult. Obviously, I'm sure somebody or the other must have got it, but I'm saying that according to me, this was, see, sometimes you also get lucky, you would have just thought of a particular pair and it works out. Well, that's not what we are looking at, but really with all the logic trying to get this particular part, I thought was difficult. Let's go ahead with the questions based on this. What best can be said about the amount of money that Ritesh had with him at the end of round 8? So, that was pretty straightforward. Round 8, Ritesh had 6, exactly 6, which is the 4th option. So, pretty doable. Again, obviously, the questions are going to be pretty doable once you have the table. Next one, what best can be said about the amount of money that Pulak had with him at the end of round 6? That is 12 rupees, exactly 12, which is the first option. Next one, how much money did Ritesh have at the end of round 4? End of round 4, Ritesh has 6. Theta question, all the values are very small. You could have taken a chance with 6, 7, 8, anything if you were not attempting the set also. So, that is sometimes the logic with theta questions. How many games were played with a bet of 2? Again, theta question, random answer was good enough, but again, you have to actually sit and count over here. Here there was one bet of 2. Second round also there was one bet of 2. Third round also one bet of 2. Fourth round one bet of 2. Fifth round no bets of 2. All round bets of 1 only. Sixth round one bet of 2. Seventh round no bets of 2. Eighth round one bet of 2. So out of the 8th round, 2 rounds don't have a bet of 2 and 6 of them have a bet of 2. Hence the answer will be 6. Next question, which of the following pair was made in round 5? Round 5 pairs were what? PS with QR. So PS is the second option. We have PS as the second option. That will be your answer. Again, once you have the table, the set was doable, but according to me, definitely by far the most difficult set of slot 3. You could have definitely avoided this in slot 3. Hi, let's have a look at the next set. The next set talks about there are 4 neighborhoods in a city, only 4 neighborhoods in a city. The names are all tongue twisters, so I'm just using L, T, P and K. No point getting into the names actually. During the onset of a pandemic, the number of new cases of a disease on each of these neighborhoods was recorded over a period of 5 days. So basically we're going to talk about 5 days, day 1 to 5. On each day, the new number of cases recorded in any of the neighborhood was either 0, 1 or 2 or 3. That means not more than 3. Minimum means obviously 0, 1, 2 or 3. The following facts are also known. So 6 facts were given. There were at least 1 new case in every neighborhood on day 1. So day 1 started with bare minimum 1. There was no 0 on day 1. No 0. Now this is not a direct statement. It does not give you directly where you can put this, but that's okay. On each of the 5 days, there were more new cases in K than P. So K every single day is greater than P. Fine, fair enough. The number of new cases in the city on a day kept increasing during the 5-day period. Again, statement 2 is also not a direct statement. Now, it kept on increasing during the 5-day period. So every day there was an increment. The number of new cases on day 3 was exactly 1 more than day 2. So only thing I know is day 3 is 1 more than day 2. That I know. The maximum number of new cases in a day was in P was 2. So P maximum was 2. So P never had 3. So P never has 3. And this happened only once during the 5-day period, and that also once during 5-day period there was a 2, other days it was 0 or 1. So P had either like all zeros 1 2, all ones and 1 2, or 0 0 1 1 2, whatever, different possibilities. K is the only place to have 3 cases on day 2. Only one direct statement up till now. K has 3 cases on day 2. Fine. Which also tells me on day 2 P cannot have 2. Because every single day P is less than K and the total number of new cases over the 5-day period are given over here. So this is also a very direct statement. We can use this directly in our table. So let's try and form our table. Now the table, what will we look like? It will look like this: day 1 to day 5, all the 4 cities and total on both the sides. So obviously using the last statement, which was the most direct statement, had all the 5 points over here and total was 43. And then there was one more direct statement where on day 2, K had 3 new cases and no is the only one to have 3 cases. So that means this was also not 3, this was also not 3 and P was also not 3. P so anyway could not be 3, but except K, nobody else had 3. So anyway, I think I had made an error that P cannot have 2. P can have 2 over here. That was my error, but that's okay. You'll realize that anyway. Now looking at the remaining 3 statements together, on each of the 5 days there were more new cases in K than P. So K is always greater than P. The number of new cases in the city in a day kept increasing during the 5-day period. That means these values were all increasing. So this was the highest one and this was the lowest value, right? That much is also very clear. The number of new cases on day 3 was exactly 1 more than day 2. So day 3 was 1 more than day 2. So whatever we have on day 2, suppose if day 2 is X, then this was X plus 1, total number of cases. So the maximum number of new cases on a day in P was 2. So P never had more than 2. So maximum P had was 2. And this happened only once during the 5-day period. Now let's go through something which is mathematically very important in this set. Now if P is maximum 2 and everybody else is maximum 3, then the maximum total on any day can be only 11. 3 plus 3 plus 2 plus 3, right? Maximum total you can have is 11. And now let's think, if I have 11 as the last value, That and 7 as the first value. That means they are all consecutive days. What will be the total of these 5 days then? 45. Our total is 43. Now, my question to you is very straightforward. Let's understand that much. Can I do without this 11? And I can replace it with some other number? I'm sure some of you all would have said, yes, sir, we can do that. We can have a 10 year or whatever. Think, if you had 10 as the last day, then you would have to start with 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the total would become only 40. Which means you can't do without the 11. You can skip the 7 and make it 5 maybe. You can maybe make the 8 as 6 or something like that. But you can't leave this 11. So the 11 will definitely come on the last day. Now, once I've had the 11, I'm just going to clear the screen from here. Pay attention. Now, once I have this 11, out of 43, if I've taken away 11, I still need a total of 34. Now, the next best possible, the highest possible number is 10. That means 7, 8, 9, 10. What is the total of 7, 8, 9, 10? 30. We need, sorry, not 34, we need 32. We need 32, but we have a possibility of 34. Now, can I do without the 10 again? That's the question. Without the 10, which means the numbers will be 6, 7, 8, 9. That will be only 30. So we cannot do without the 10 also. That means the 10 will also definitely come. Exactly the same logic. Once the 10 has come, then you need 22 more. And you will get, if you take 7, 8, 9, you will get 24. Can you do without the 9? Same logic you cannot do without the 9 also. If you don't take the 9, you will reach maximum 21. So 9 you can get over here, right? You will need the 9. Once you get the 9 over here, the previous day will have to become 8 because they had told us the 2 days were consecutive. So this was 8. And now, obviously, just subtracting from 43, you will get this as 5. So this is the only possible set of numbers you can have: 5, 8, 9, 10 and 11. Once we get that, I thought it was pretty simple, straightforward. Now, on day 1, they had told us that everybody was bare minimum 1, right? And K always is more than P. So if I take all of them as 1, the total is 4. But K has to be greater than P, which means K will have to be 2 minimum. So 1, 1, 1 and 2 will be there for day 1, and that will give us the 5 over here. Same logic apply for 11. 11, as we had said earlier, only can come only from 3, 3, 2, 3. So that will be happening for the last day, 3, 3, 2, 3. That's the only possibility. Now this 2 they had said can come only once. P, the area P has 2 cases only once. That means the other day maximum it can have is 1. Now to get a 10, and if one of them is 1, the only possibility is 3, 3, 1, 3. So the next day will be 3, 3, 1, 3. We got that also. Now if you look for K, we have got 4 values already. So I have only 1 value missing, which I can get from subtracting from 14. So that comes out to be 3. So I got all the values for K, right? Now let's look at these two. These two, their total is 12. We have already accounted for 6 plus 1, 7. That means these 2 days ka total is definitely going to be 5 for both of them. For these 2 days total will be 5. Now to get a 5 from these numbers only, 0, 1, 2, 3, the only way possible is 2 and 3. That means one of the days will be 2 and the other day will be 3. And they have told us that day 2, only K got 3. So nobody else got 3. So day 2, these 2 people cannot get 3. So they will get 2 and 2. That is not people, I mean areas. L and T cannot get 3 and 3. So they'll get 2 and 2. 2 plus 2, 4. 4 plus 3, 7. Total is 8. So which means P will also have 1. And then next day, L and T will have 3 cases, right? And 3 plus 3 plus 3 is already 9. So that means P will have 0 cases. And that is the only 0 in the table. And if you notice, we have finished the table completely. Not very difficult, not very easy, but I would still put this as the second best set of the slot 3, right? I had not taken slot 3, I have taken the slot 2, but from what I saw and what I've heard, this should have been the second best set of slot 3. Let's go ahead and let's have a look at the questions. What best can we conclude about the total number of new cases on day 2? Day 2, 8. This we could have got once we got the totals only. So answer is exactly 8, which is the first option. Let's go to the next question. What best can be concluded about the new cases on day 3? Day 3 new cases are, that is only about L. L on day 3 can have only 3 cases. L on day 3 can have only 3 cases. So exactly 3, fourth option is my answer. Next one, on which days did P did not have any new case? P did not have any new case only once, that is day 3. So answer will be only day 3, which is the first option. Next one, which of the above statements are necessarily false? Please read very carefully, then they have to be necessarily false. Okay, there are 2 new cases in T on day 3. Day 3 T. Is this number 2? No, it is not 2. So this statement is definitely false. There are no new cases in P on day 2. P on day 2 has 1 case. So this is also false. So both the statements are false. So both statement A and statement B are false. So answer is the first option. So that is also pretty doable according to me. On which day did L and T have the same number of new cases? On how many days? So if you notice for L and T, day 1 they have the same cases, day 2 they have, day 3, day 4 and day 5. All the 5 days they had the same number of cases. So answer is the third option, 5. So according to me, once you got the table, which was mainly difficult around this part, getting these numbers, where if you were good with maths and averages, you would have figured that out pretty fast. But I thought this set was definitely a doable set. This could have been your second set to do after the graph wala set. Let's have a look at the next set. This was the set 3 of this slot, and it would have been my third set to do if I was able to attempt 3 sets. Then this would have been my third set to do. The important thing in this set was there was only one real number in this whole set. It's a standard question of there are computer science students, CS students, non-CS students who have taken 2 subjects of AI and ML and so on. A lot of ratios were given. So I'm not going to read too much now into this data because the data was very standard data. But my whole problem was there was only one real value and all the questions were all about real values. Each and every question, all the 5 questions were of real values, which means I knew that the answer, and there was no cannot be determined, and that was the only reason I felt this set was slightly doable. But there was a trick to this set. If you realize that trick, then it was worth doing it. The table was a very standard table. CS, computer science students who have taken AI and ML, who have got grade A, B, C, or they have failed. So if they passed, they have got A, B, C. If they failed, they've got F. Non-CS students. By the way, I hope that when you're looking at these videos, you've actually tried the sets and then looking at them, or if it was your slot, you were just wanting to look at the solution and hence try looking at them. So AI, ML and total over here, and for total AI, ML and total. Now as I said, there was only one value given, 30 students failed in ML. So this was the 30 which I had, and I had to work around with that only because everything else should get filled based on that 30. Now what I thought, since they spoke about failing, I decided to have a look at all the statements which spoke about failing. So first statement didn't speak about failing, second statement didn't speak about failing, third statement spoke about failing, fifth spoke about failing, and seventh spoke about failing. So I decided to go with those statements first. So seventh statement, the ratio of the non-CS students failing in one of the 2 courses to the number of CS students failing in one of the 2 courses was 3:1. So non-CS students failing will be 3x in one of the 2. That means they are talking about the total. The total students failing over here was 3:1. So this is 3x and this is 1x. Right? Next one. No CS students failed in AI, while non-CS students got no non-student CS student got a grade in AI. So AI CS student nobody has failed, and from non-CS nobody has got grade A. So that was 1 more 0. So obviously this became 1x and this was 1 more 0 over here. So we got till here. Now pay attention very carefully. What is this 30? This 30 is the total of this value plus this value. Still I haven't got this value. So we have one more statement for failing, third statement. The number of non-students who failed, number of non-CS students who failed in the 2 courses was same. These 2 numbers were same. Their total is 3x. So each of them had to be 1.5x and 1.5x. And their total is equal to the number of CS students who got a C grade in ML. I will come back and use this. I haven't used this part yet. So what do I get? Now I get 1x plus 1.5x is 30. Now that is where my set starts. If somebody had realized this, after this the set was still little bit doable. So I got 2.5x is 30, x is 12. Just simply start putting everywhere x is 12. So if we get x is 12, this value will become 12, this will become 12. 1.5 into 12 is 18, 18, 36 and that value. So this value also became 18. How did this value become 18? because 0 plus 18 will become 18, and now 18 plus 30 will become 48. So we got that full line of failing. If there were any questions around failing, we could have answered them right now. Okay. Now, let's see. So we said we had not used one more part over there, and their total value, that is this 36, was equal to the number of CS students who got a grade C in ML. So CS students who got a grade C in ML is 36. We got that value in the table, right? Let's continue further. Now, going via the remaining statement, sixth statement, we got this. So now we should be able to use this. The number of CS students who got A, B, C grades respectively in AI were 352. Can't use that right now. With ML 452. So this is ML 452. So I can use this. So 36 is 2 parts. So if 36 is 2 parts, 4 parts will be 72 and 5 parts will be 90. So that is 90 and 72. We will get the total over here 210. Now if you notice, they had mentioned right at the start that all the first year students in the computer science department take both the courses. That means if 210 students are taking ML, 210 students will exactly take AI also. So this is also 210. Nobody has failed. So obviously the pass ka total is 210, and that number is in the ratio 352. So 352 divided in the ratio, divide 210 in the ratio 352. So that's 8 plus 2, 10 parts. So 10 parts is 210. So 1 part is 21. So 3 parts will become 63. 5 parts 105 and 2 parts 42. We'll start getting totals also if we want. We'll come to that later. The number of non-CS students who took either AI or ML was equal to the number of CS students. That means 210 students from CS have taken AI and they have taken ML. There, so they have taken both. There's no worry. So the total over here is also 210 is what they are saying, right? That gives us a total over here. So 36 have failed, so the remaining have passed out of those 210. We'll come to that later. The number of non-CS students who take AI and ML when the ratio 2:5. See, from non-CS, they could take either AI or ML, but not both. So divide 210 in the ratio 2:5. That is 7 parts is 210. So 1 part is 30. So 2 parts will be 60 and 150. So that gives me 60 and 150 non-CS ka total. So I will start getting this total also. AI ka total. Total people who took AI was 270. Total people who took ML was 360. And if we wanted, we could have thought of that total also, but that's actually not correct because here these are the same students, 210, 210. Now, fourth statement was the most difficult statement to interpret, and that is where the set now really opens up. In both the courses, 50% of the students who passed got a B grade. So for both the courses, again obviously when they say both the courses, they are talking about total. 50% of the students who passed got a B grade. Okay, understand that, that's very important. While the number of students who got A and C grades were the same for AI, while for ML they were in the ratio 3:2. So now see what I have done is, I'll just explain how I get this 126. 270 minus 18. 270 minus 18 will be 252. And 50% of that get a B grade. So therefore 50% of 252 becomes 126. I'll repeat this. 270 students took AI totally, out of which 18 have failed. So 252 people passed. 50% of that have got B. So the remaining 126 for AI, they are equal for A and C grade. So therefore they both become 63, 63. Okay. So actually we've done some other value first, but these two values will become 63, 63. That's okay. Now, so 126 over here, if this is 105, so this will become 21. Now, beyond that, this will also become 21 because the total over here has to be 60. So 0, 21, 21 is what we get over here. Now, we get 63, 63 over there for AI. So these two 63s, we got what we had said just earlier. So we got those two values also. Now, let's do the same thing for ML. 360 students have taken ML, out of the 30 have passed. So 30 have failed, so 330 have passed. Half of 330 will be 165. The remaining 165 will be divided in the ratio 3:2 because for ML the ratio is 3:2. So divide this 165 in the ratio 3:2, that will become 99 and 66. So 99 students have taken ML over here, out of which 72 are here. So the remaining 27 will be over here, and this will become 75, 165 minus 90. And this will become 30. So we more or less got all the values. Whether if we need the totals in any question, we will use them and solve them. Getting this, based on the in an exam scenario could have been difficult. That is why it's my third set. Especially using that only one real value and getting all the real values was slightly difficult. Let's start. How many students took AI totally? So AI ka total is 270. That's your answer, which is the third option. Next question. How many CA students failed in ML? How many CA students have failed in ML? 12. And the theta question, so answer is 12. Next question. How many non-students got an A grade in ML? So non-CS students who got an A grade in ML are 27. Again a theta question, answer is 27. Next one, how many students got an A grade in AI? A grade in AI totally 63 students. Anyway 63 plus 0 was 63. So 63 students have got A grade in AI, and that was the third option. Next question, how many non-CS students got a B grade in ML? So B grade in ML non-CS is 75, and that's the fourth option. So once the table is done, obviously the set is pretty doable, but this would have been my third set after the set with the graphs or the ages wala set, and there was one more set which was pretty doable, and this would have been the third one. Let's have a look at the next set, and by far one of the easiest sets of this slot. The first 4 questions were very straightforward. The fifth question, there's a lot of debate going on and a lot of people are talking about the answer being wrong. We at IMS also have thought that this answer is wrong, and we have raised the query of this answer being wrong. So let's wait for the reply which we get from the IMS. So, but the first 4 questions were definitely straightforward. Let's have a look. So, a study to define the mortality rate of a disease began in 1980. The study chose 1,000 males and 1,000 females and followed them for 40 years. So, there was a study, and from which we have some data over here. We are talking about the mortality rate we are going to study. The 1,000 males chosen in 1980. So, they were chosen in 1980. Consist of 250 of each age group. 10 led to from first group was 10 to 20. 250 people of this age group, then 20 to 30, then 30 to 40, and then 40 to 50. So 4 age group, everywhere there were 250 people. So 1,000 people were chosen. 1,000 females chosen also consisted of 250, same. So there were 1,000 males and 1,000 females chosen. So totally 2,000 people were chosen right at the start, right? The 4 figures below depict the age profile of those 2,000 individuals who were still alive in 1990, 2000, 2010 and 2020. That means every year or every 10 years, they started looking at the data again from those chosen people. So after 10 years, this group will go into the second group. So the first group will become 20 to 30. The second group will become 30 to 40, 40 to 50 and 50 to 60, right? That is how each group will keep going older and older. Now, and obviously if number of people have become lesser in any group, which means that many people have died from that group. So for example, over here, this number is not 250. So if it is 230, which it clearly means that 20 people have died. So we'll come to all that later as we look at the questions and try to solve the questions. In 2000, what was the ratio of the number of dead males to dead females among the ones who are being tracked? So 2000 is after 20 years. So I have to study 2 graphs. What was the ratio of the number of dead males to dead females? I thought it was a straightforward question. How many people who are being tracked and who are between 30 and 40 in 1980 survived until 2010? So we have to look at the third graph. So every time we have to look at the graph and solve. There's nothing to pre-solve before this. Let's start solving question by question. Now, in 2000, what was the ratio of the number of dead males to dead females among those being tracked? So we are talking about this particular graph we are looking at. Now, look at it. What was the ratio of the dead males to dead females? That means every category we'll have to look at it. Right, so first category, what is happening? This is the first category. So initially they were all 250. Now they have become 180 in males. So 70 males have died from that group, from that category, which was originally 10 to 20 years old. Now, when I say over here, this category is 205. So this is 205. That means originally they were what? They were 250. So 45 people have died. Then 160. So 90 people have died. And 100. So 150 people have died. So that's 5, 11 plus 9, 20, 20 plus 15, 35. 355 males have died. What about females which have died? Now, 210. So that means 40 females have died from the first group, 75 from the second group, 100 from the third group, and 130 from the fourth group. That will be again 5, 11 plus 10, 21, 21 plus 13 is 34, 345. So 355 is to 345, we can start cutting with 5. 5 7s are, 5 1s are, 5 6s are, 5 9s are. Answer is 71 is to 69, which is the fourth option. Very, very, very straightforward question. Have to get this. This is like the easiest thing you can see in CAT. Let's have a look at the next question. How many people who are being tracked and who are between 30 and 40 years of age in 1980? So they were originally 30 and 40. That means the third group. First group was 10 to 20. Second group was 20 to 30. Third group was... So I just have to look at the third group. That's what I'm looking at. And they survived until 2010. So were they alive in 2010 or not is what I have to check. So how many people are alive in the third group? So over here 90 are alive, males and females 100 are alive. That's it. Answer is 190, which is the third option. Such a simple thing. Because they are talking about this, I know it's the third group. That's the way I just looked at the third line. Next one. How many individuals who were being tracked and who were less than 30 years of age in 1980 survived until 2020? Who were less than 30 in 1980? That means they are talking about the first two groups and they survived until 2020. Now, from the first two groups, if you notice, what is the number of people who are dead? 140 have survived plus 100. So, 240 have survived. Then there is 125 and 105. That becomes another 230. So, hence the number of people who have survived is 470, which is the first option. Again, very simple, just addition of 4 numbers. You can't get easier data than this. Next one. How many of the males who are being tracked who are between 20 and 30 in 1980? So again, the second group we are talking about died in the period 2000 to 2010. So when did they die? They died between 2000 to 2010. That means till 2000 they were alive, but in 2010 they were dead. By the end of 2010 they were dead. So I have to subtract from here to here which group? Second group. Pay attention very carefully, and only males, right? How many males? Second group I have to look at only males who die between this graph and this graph. So second group, this number is 165, this number was 205. Answer is 205 minus 165. Answer is 40. Again, a straightforward question. Last question, which was a debatable question. So let's pay attention what the answer is, why the answer is that which they have given, what have they thought, and why maybe there is an error with it. We are saying maybe, according to us, there is an error, but we could be wrong also. So how many of the females who are being tracked between 20 and 30? That means again second group. In 1980, died between 50 and 60. Now pay attention to this very carefully. So second group, right? So second group is this group. So this females who are between 20 and 30. Now in 1990, they will become between 30 and 40. They were between 20 and 30 originally. So now between these 225 females who are surviving are between 30 and 40. Here again the second group. So this 175 females are now between what age group? Initial 225 are between 30 and 40. Then 175 are being between 40 and 50. Now pay attention very carefully. This 145 are between 50 and 60. Now, what is the question? They died between 50 and 60. Now, most of the people have done this. They have marked the answer as 30. Now, why is that incorrect or whatever? Now, pay attention. The question is, when did they die? They died between the ages 50 and 60. Now, for them to die between 50 and 60, here they are already between 50 and 60 in 2010. So, this 145 minus 105 should be the answer what we are claiming. 145 minus 105 is 40 is the answer what we are claiming. Understand this very carefully. They died when they were between 50 and 60. Now here they are only between, here they are actually 2010. They have survived. So next group they are dying, right? So hence that is the problem over here. Answer, they died between this and this. At the start of 2010 there were 145 people. And after that there were 105 people. So 40 females died when they were between 50 to 60 is what we are claiming, while the answer given is 30, and I have explained why the logically maybe they have also given the answer, but according to us the answer should be 40 for this question. Anyways, even if you leave the last question aside, The first 4 questions were very, very straightforward. 4 questions in a paper like this were very, very, very doable, and I thought you should have definitely done this set. I think it was the easiest set out of all 3 slots also. Let's have a look at the first question. The first question talks about find the arithmetic mean of all distinct numbers that can be obtained by rearranging 1, 4, 2, 1. Now first let's get some of our permutation combination concepts clear. 1, 4, 2, 1. 4 digits, which means we could have found 4 factorial numbers, but there is a repetition of 1, which means divide by 2 factorial, which means I can form 12 numbers. Now, as soon as I see this, that I can form 12 numbers, I am thinking to myself and thinking that this sum should be done. On the worst side, I will write down all the 12 numbers and then divide by 12. Obviously, then it will not turn out to be a category A question, but it's a question which I can definitely do. So what I thought was, instead of actually writing down all the 12 numbers, let me figure out how many times a say of 4. So how many numbers can I form ending with 4? So 1, 1, 2. So obviously I can form 3 numbers. I can have 1, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 1, 4 and 2, 1, 1, 4. So obviously if I can form 4 numbers ending with 4, 3 numbers ending with 4, I can form 3 numbers ending with 2 also, which means there will be 6 numbers ending with 1, which anyway you should have known. But if you did not know that, now I'm telling you. So I'll have 3 numbers ending with 4, 3 numbers ending with 2 and 6 numbers ending with 1. That means the total of that place, if I start adding all the digits in my units digit, will be 4 3s are 12, 2 3s are 6 and 6 1s are 6, which will be 24. Now this rule will apply to all the digits. It's not that it will only apply to the units digit. So what will be the sum of all the numbers? In the units digit, the total will be 24 1s are 24. In the tens place, the total will be 24 10s are 240. Then 24 hundreds are 2400, and then 24 thousands are 24,000. Don't please add this and waste your time. You want to find the average, which means you want to anyway divide by 12. So we'll divide this by 12. So what will we get? We'll get 2 plus 20 plus 200 plus 2000, which is 2, 2, 2, 2, which is the second option. I would not say definitely a doable question, but definitely a category B. You cannot just put this in a category C. With CAT being slightly more difficult this year in quant, this will definitely qualify as a category B question. Let's have a look at the next question. The next question is from a quadratic equation. Looking at this question, I'm thinking, definitely know my path to solution. 3 plus 2 root 2 is a root of the equation so and so, which means I can easily find the equation. And 4 plus 2 root 3 is the root of this equation. And they've asked for some ratios and they have asked for this value. Definitely doable. Yes, might take me a couple of 2 or 2.5 minutes to do it, but I'm definitely doing it my first plot, definitely putting it as category A. Because if one root is 3 plus 2 root 2, I know the other root has to be 3 minus 2 root 2. So what are the sum of the roots? Sum of the roots becomes 6. And what is the product of the roots? Product will be 3 3s are 9 minus 2 root 2 into 2 root 2 is 8, 1. Right, so sum is 6 and product is 1, which means my equation is x square minus the sum of the roots into x plus the product is 0. So x square minus 6x plus 1 is this equation. So I've got A as 1, B as minus 6 and C as 1. So we got the values of A, B, C from what we want. Now let's do exactly the same thing one more time for the second equation. 4 plus 2 root 3. The other root will be 4 minus 2 root 3. So sum will be 8, because when I add 2 root 3 and minus 2 root 3 will cut. And the product will be 16 minus 12, right? 4 4 is 16. A plus B into A minus B is A square minus B square. So we'll get 16 minus 2 root 3 square will be 12. So it will be 4. So my equation will be x square minus 8x plus 4 is 0. Put that as A. So A is again 1, no need to write A. M is minus 8 and N is 4. So we've got that. Just carefully put it down over here what they've asked. They've asked for B by M. So B is minus 6 upon M is minus 8 plus C minus 2B. So C is 1 minus 2B will become plus 12 upon N. N is 4. So minus minus cuts out. This becomes 3 by 4 plus 13 by 4. which will become 16 by 4, which will become 4, which is the first option. So as I said that yes, the sum might take me 2 minutes, but definitely putting it as a category A, you should definitely look at this sum and tell yourself, yes, I know how to do it. I know all the steps which will be involved in this question, and nothing looks very difficult. Let's have a look at the next question. A glass contains 500 cc of milk and a cup contains 500 cc of water. So there are two separate one. There's a glass. There's milk in one of the in the glass and water in the other cup. From the glass, 150 cc of milk is transferred to the cup and mixed thoroughly. Next, 150 cc is transferred from the cup back to the glass. Now the amount of water in the glass and the amount of milk in the cup are in what ratio? So for anybody who's gone through your concepts well, understood questions of ratios, allegations, mixtures, would know the answer to this question is directly 1:1, not wasting even little bit time. Whenever you will do this process even number of times, this answer will always come out to be 1:1. I'm sure this only 10% of the audience knew. So for the remaining 90%, they could have still tried it, which was not so difficult. So in the glass, what happens? Milk is 500, water is 0, and in the cup, milk is 0 while water is 500. So what are we saying now? From the glass, 150 cc of milk is transferred. So after my first transaction, 150 cc goes there. So the amount of milk over here becomes 350 while the water still remains 0. And over here, milk will become 150 while water will be 350. Sorry, water will still be 500. I'm sorry. Now, after that, I'm going to put 150 from the cup back to the glass. So when I put 150, it will go in a particular ratio, and that ratio will be 150 is to 500. There will be 5 3s are 5 10s are. So it will go in the ratio 3:10. Now, don't solve everything. Just look at what we want. We want the amount of water in the glass. So once I just want the water in the glass. So let's work only on the water. How much water goes over there? So what will be the amount of water which will go? It will be water is definitely bigger one. So 10 by 13. So 10 by 13 of 150 will go. I know it doesn't cut. That's okay. So the amount of water over here after this transaction will become 1500 upon 13. Right? How much milk will go? So I want to concentrate on how much milk will remain. So out of 150, some milk will go. Don't worry about how much milk we'll get in the first container because that's not asked. So 150 minus what will go? Milk is going lesser. So 3 by 13 of 150. There will be 150 common. 1 minus 3 by 13. That will be 1 minus 3 by 13 will again become 10 by 13. So amount of milk over here will be 1500 upon 13, which turns out to be the same value, and hence answer is the fourth option. Even if you do this much, it is still a category A, and well, ideally you should not need to do this, and you should know this property directly. Answer is the fourth option. Let's have a look at the next question. Neetu has an initial capital of 20,000. Out of this, she has invested 8,000 at 5.5% per annum in a bank, 5,000 at 5.6% in another bank B, that's bank B. So 5,000 at 5.6% and the remaining at X% in bank C. What is the remaining? 13. So 7,000 is remaining at X% in bank C. Each rate being simple interest per annum. Her combined annual interest income from these investments is equal to 5% of the initial capital. So 20,000 ka 5%, 20,000 ka 10% we should know is 2,000. So 5% will become 1,000. So 5% is 1,000. Since I know it orally, I just prefer to write it down. If she had invested her entire initial capital in bank C alone, that means if she had invested everything over here, then her annual interest income in rupees would have been how much? So basically, I want to find this and X% and then find X% of 20,000. So let's continue. Let's do these calculations oral. 5.5% of 8,000. Let me explain how do I do this orally. Obviously, you had a calculator. I know you can use a calculator. But 10% of 8,000 is 800. So 5% is 400. So 0.5% is 40. So hence this is 440. Okay. Once you realize this is 55 8 is 440. So 56 5 over here is 280. 280 rupees over here. This will be 70x, and this whole thing has to be equal to 1000. So 440 plus 280, that will be 720. So 70x is 1000 minus 720, which is 280. X is 4. So this was 4%. So X turns out to be 4%. What was the question asked? If all the money was invested only in bank C, what would the interest be, which you would get? So which is 4% of 20,000. 4% of 20,000 will be 800 rupees. Answer will be the second option. Definitely category A. Have to do it in your first reading. When you're reading the paper first time, this is the question you should be doing immediately at that time. Let's have a look at the next question. The next question is one more very straightforward from escalators. Very straightforward question. Moody takes 30 seconds to finish riding an escalator if he is walking on it as his normal speed in the same direction. That means the escalator is also going in a particular direction. Moody is also going in the same direction. Moody takes 30 seconds. So can I say 30 seconds of Moody plus 30 seconds of the escalator is the total work done, and that is the total length which has to be covered. 30 seconds of Moody plus 30 seconds of escalator is the total work done. If Moody was there on the escalator for 30 seconds, the escalator also worked for 30 seconds. He takes 20 seconds to finish riding the escalator if he takes twice his normal speed. So he works at twice the normal speed, so 2m into 20. But now the escalator also works only for 20 and works at the regular speed. Escalator doesn't become fast because Moody has become fast. So that will become 40m plus 20e. Both these things should be same. So 30m plus 30e should be 40m plus 20e. So we've got a 10e is equal to 10m, which means e is equal to m. So the escalator is same, we're working at the same speed what Moody has a regular speed of. Let's read what they've asked actually for. If Moody decides to stand still on the escalator, then the time needed to finish reaching the top or wherever, finish riding the escalator will be how much? Total was 30m plus 30e. Now who's doing all this work? Only the escalator, but m is same as e, so it will become 60e upon e, 60 seconds, which you can do it orally also the last part, that because together they were taking 30 seconds and they both have the same efficiency, so alone the escalator will take 60 seconds. So answer is a theta question, answer is 60 seconds. Again a very simple question, again a definitely category A. Let's have a look at the next question. Slightly long question, not very straightforward. Let's have a look at it. A donation box can receive only checks of 100 rupees, 250 rupees or 500 rupees. On one good day, the donation box was found to contain exactly 100 checks. So let's assume there were x, y and z checks of each type. So the first equation we have is x plus y plus z is 100. Amounting to a total of 15,250, which means 100x plus 250y plus 500z is 15,250. What is the maximum possible value of checks of 500 the donation box can receive? That means I want to find the maximum possible value of z. Now, let's think a little bit and I'll just give you the thought process how I thought over this question. 15,250 and the 250 rupees over here. If you notice, the 100 and 500 checks can never give me a 250, which tells me that the value of y will have to be odd. Value of y will have to be odd. And since I want to maximize z, I will have to want to minimize y. Since I want to maximize z, I will have to minimize y. So I decided to start with y as 1. If I put y as 1, I know my first equation x plus z will become 99. And second equation y is 1, so 250 goes on that side, so it will become 100x plus 500z will be 15,000. You can, even though you can reduce this equation 100 divided by 100, so 100 ones are, 100 fives are, and 100 150s are. But you can stop over here only, not even trying to solve it, because this is an odd number, this is 150 is an even number. If you add them, you will, so because if you're going to subtract the equation to cut out x, you're going to get 4z, and 4z is odd, is not possible. So with y as 1, we are not getting a solution. So then I decided to try with y as 3. We'll get x plus z is equal to 97. And because y is 3, 253 or 750 goes on the other side, becomes 14,500. So I should get 100x plus 500z is 14500. Divide by 100, everything cuts out. Again, I have two odd numbers, so their difference will be an even number. So I will be able to solve this. If I subtract both the equations, I'll get 4z is equal to, how much will that be? 48. Great. So that's possible. So z is 12. So that will be the maximum value I can get for z, because I have already taken the minimum value for y. Right? If I take larger values for y, z will keep coming down. So z is 12. No need to try and check your answer, waste your time finding x. You know, even though you can do it orally, x you put it over, you'll get value, but z is 12 is what we are looking for. The maximum value for the 500 rupee check will be 12. I would not say it's a category A, maybe not even a category C. For most of y'all, it will be a category, not even a category B. For most of y'all, it will be a category C. Let's have a look at the next question. The next question talks about, they've told us C is equal to 16x upon y plus 49y upon x for some non-zero real numbers x and y. So they have to be non-zero real numbers x and y. Then C cannot take what value? Let's try and understand this. Now, if you look at the terms add a hint. 16x upon y and 49y upon x. 16 is a perfect square, 49 is a perfect square. From there, I got my hint that arithmetic mean has to be greater than or equal to geometric mean is the rule I will use to find the range for a plus b, where I'm calling 16x upon y as a and 49y upon x as b. So arithmetic mean is nothing but a plus b upon 2, which has to be greater than or equal to the geometric mean, which is square root of ab. Take 2 on top, so I have a plus b has to be greater than or equal to square root of 2 root ab, that is 2 root ab. So greater than 2 root ab. What is root ab? What is a into b? It will be 16x upon y multiplied by 49y upon x. Xx will cut out. So we'll be left with greater than 2 into 16 into 49. Square root of 16 is 4, 49 is 7. So I'll get my a plus b has to be greater than or equal to 2 into 4 into 7. So a plus b has to be greater than 56. Now, a plus b has to be is square root. Now, square root could be positive or negative. This over here, right at the start, we should have known this could be positive or negative. And hence, I will now get a plus b can be greater than or equal to plus minus 56. So, what is the rule we know when we have greater than inequality? That a plus b will be greater than or equal to 56, or a plus b will be less than or equal to minus 56. That means I have a open-ended range. Above 56 everything is okay, and below minus 56 everything is okay. So from the options I can clearly see that the first option minus 50 will not satisfy this range, and hence the answer is minus 50. Very straightforward method. You would have done ample questions using this property, so you should have got this. Let's have a look at the next question. Here they're talking about, in an examination, the average marks of a student in section A were 32. So section A, the average was 32, while section B, the average was 60. The number of students in section A is 10 less than the number of students in section B. So if I start with number of students as x over here it is x plus 10. Till here it was pretty straightforward. If the average marks of all the students combined across both the section is an integer, average together. So what will be the average together? Total over here will be 32x. Total over here will be 60x plus 600. And the total number of students will be 2x plus 10. This is where I started thinking that the question was going to slightly get difficult. 92x plus 600 upon 2x plus 10 is my average. Now they are saying that this number is an integer. Even besides that, the question was still difficult. The difference between the maximum and the minimum possible value of the number of students of section A, that is x only. So difference between the minimum value of x and the maximum value of x. Now post this, if you're doing trial and error, it was going to be terrible. So even I did not realize it immediately when I saw it. Obviously, this is not the slot where I wrote the cat in. So I kind of took it after I came out and when the response sheet was released. So 92x plus 600 upon 2x plus 10. So I can first divide by 2. So I'll get 46x plus 300 upon x plus 5. Now post this, how do you solve this? I want to find the maximum value of x and the minimum value of x. You can write the numerator as 46x plus 230 plus 70 divided by x plus 5. This was a very difficult step to think of, right? Once you think of it, 46 into x plus 5 plus 70 both divided by x plus 5 separately. Now understand one simple thing. This part will always be an integer, whatever be the value of x. So now my problem is not over here. X will, whatever value I take for x, this part will always be integer because x plus 5 will cut. So the problem is going to come only from here. Now, what is the minimum value I can think for x? Now, the denominator has to be a factor of 70. Now, if I think of all the factors of 70 also, 1 being the smallest factor, 70 being the largest, 2, 35, 3 does not go, 5 goes 14 times, right? 6 does not go and 7 goes 10 times. So not too many factors. I thought of all of them. We'll come to that later. 70 upon x plus 5. Now, so the smallest value of x possible when this denominator will have a factor larger than 5 but smallest such possible number. That will be 7. So my denominator can be 7. For that x can be 2. So smallest possible value of x is 2. And the largest possible will be when my denominator will be 70. If the denominator is 70, x will be 65. So the smallest possible value for x is 2 and the largest possible value for x will be 65, and hence the answer which we are looking for, the difference between the two, will be 63. So the answer for this question will be 63. Definitely a difficult question. I don't think there was a easier way to think of it. In fact, there can be a very smart another question which can be asked later someday on this, is that how many values can x take? So if you can notice over here, x cannot take 1, 2, sorry, x might be take, but we cannot take these factors. So we cannot use factors where the denominator is 1, 2 or 5. For all other values it is possible, and hence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 possible values could have been taken. Very interesting question, but on the day of the cat, I'm leaving this alone. Definitely a category C for me. Let's have a look at the next question. The next question is a question from geometry talking about medians and area of triangle and all that. Normally, my favorite area, I would definitely look at attempting such questions. Just depends whether you know your geometry concepts well or not. So for triangle ABC, where they have told us the area is 108, they have told us BD and CE are two medians which meet at point O. They've given the area of the whole triangle is 108 and they have asked for area of triangle EOD. They've asked for this triangle. Let's try and figure this out. I don't think it looks very difficult. Now, if the area of the whole triangle is 108, area of half the triangle will be 54. Now, which is the half I am interested in? Pay attention. So, I would be interested in this half first. That is this plus this. This will give me exact half. So, area of this triangle will be 54. That is area of triangle EBC will be 54. Now, if you notice over here, CO and EO will be in the ratio 2:1. So I'll have to divide 54 also in the ratio 2:1. There I am interested only in EOB. So area of triangle EOB will be therefore 1/3 of 54, which will be 18. So area of triangle EOB will be 18. We got that. Right? Now look very carefully again. Now, again just using a different color so it's easier for you to look at it. This triangle is 18. Now, if you notice, even BO and DO are in the ratio 2:1. This is 2, then this is 1. So, if this triangle's area is 18, this triangle, the red shaded area, will definitely become 9. And that is what is being asked, because if the base is in the ratio 2:1, the areas will also be in the ratio 2:1 because the height is constant. So, area of triangle EOD, which we wanted, becomes 9. Not very simple, but if you've done enough practice of these type of questions, you should be able to get it. Answer to this question is 9. Maybe a category B, for some of you all maybe even a category A. Let's have a look at the next question. The next question talks about a quadratic polynomial where they have told us, suppose k is any integer such that the equation, particular equation 2x² plus kx plus 5 is equal to 0 has no real roots. If it has no real roots, all roots are imaginary. Now, let's go back to your rules. When roots are imaginary, what do we know? Delta has to be less than 0. So, we will get one range for k from here. If you want, you can find that right now, or you can read the question and then find the remaining thing. And the other equation, x square plus k minus 5 into x plus 1 has two distinct real roots. Which means delta will be greater than 0, not even greater than or equal to 0. Equal to 0 is for when the roots are equal. So, here delta will be greater than 0. Here I have delta is less than 0, and here I have delta is greater than 0. So, for the first equation, what will I get? What will be my delta? Delta will be b square. So, k square minus 4a into c has to be less than 0. So, k square minus 40 has to be less than 0. So, k square has to be less than 40. Less than inequality, what will we have? K will be between square root of minus 40 and 40. So, negative 40 less than k less than 40, square root of 40 again. Now, what is square root of 40? If you think square root of 40 is approximately 6 point something, we don't even need to know the exact value. So, if I talk in terms of integers, because k is an integer, then I can take up till minus 6 on this side and 6 on that side. So, minus 6 less than or equal to k, because I will be allowed minus 6 also, less than or equal to 6. So, if I don't consider my second condition, I've already got 13 possible values of k, which is there in the option, but obviously there's one more condition, delta greater than 0, which will give me one more inequality. So, let's have a look at that. Now, the second condition had b square, so k minus 5 the whole square minus 4ac. So, that will be 4 into 1, that will be 4 only, has to be greater than 0. So, k minus 5 the whole square is greater than 4. Again, it's an inequality. Basically, a square is greater than 4. So, a has to be greater than 2 or less than minus 2. So, k minus 5 has to be less than minus 2 or k minus 5 has to be greater than 2. Solve this out, we will get k is less than 3 or k is greater than 7. Now, k is greater than 7 is okay. That is anyway out of this range. So, I don't really very frankly need this at all, because anyway the first value told us that k had to be between minus 6 and 6. Now, k has to be less than 3. It cannot even be 3. So, if I combine both these, I'll get minus 6 less than k less than 3. That's the range I will have. You could have put it on the number line also and checked. So, what are the values possible which you have? You have minus 6, minus 5, minus 4, minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1 and 2, not 3 because less than 3. So, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 values, which will be the third option. Not a very straightforward question, but not something very difficult with very difficult concepts. This is a very standard concept. Roots are imaginary, roots are real, standard concept, and then some amount of inequality involved. Answer was the third option. Let's have a look at the next question. What have they told us? They've told us Bob can finish a job in 40 days. So, Bob alone can do a work in 40 days. If he works alone, that is, Alex is twice as fast as Bob and thrice as fast as Cole in the same job. So, at this point only I have decided that Alex ka number, if I have to assume, I'm going to take 6 because he's twice as fast as Bob. So, therefore, Bob I can write as 3 and he was thrice as fast as Cole. So, Cole I can write as 2. So, if I'm going to assume values, Alex is 6 units per day or whatever, because it is days per day, right? Suppose Alex and Bob work together on the first day, Bob and Cole work together on the second day, Cole and Alex work together on the third day, and then they continue the work by repeating the 3-day roster. So, the same process they keep working, or like Alex, Bob working together on the 4th day, and so on. Then the total number of days Alex would have worked when the job gets finished. So, how many days did Alex work in all when the job got finished? So, first let's find out how much is the work. Bob could finish the work in 40 days. That means the total work, if I assume this 6 units per day, 3 units per day and 2 units per day, total work would be 120 units because 3 into 40. Now, day 1, A plus B worked. Day 2, B plus C worked. And day 3, C plus A worked. So, in one cycle of 3 days, since I am worried only about Alex, Alex works twice, right? So, in one cycle of these 3 days, Alex will work twice. how much work will get done? 6 plus 3, 9, 3 plus 2, 5, and 6 plus 2, 8. There will be 22 units will be done. 22 𝐈𝐧𝐻 is 110. So 5 such cycles will definitely happen. Now 5 such cycles, which means A has already worked for 10 days. Is the work over? No, only 110 units are over. The work is 120. So 10 more units are left. So in number of days, 3 days into 5, 15 days are already over. On the 16th day, A and B will work. They will still finish only 9. So 119, A has worked one more time. On the 17th day, even if I say my day is wrong, it will not matter too much. B and C will work and they will work 5 units. So they will finish the work. Work will get over, most probably on the 17th day. But A will not participate in that work because on the 17th day, B and C are working. So A would have worked for 11 days. So in short, in this whole process, A will work for 11 days. If they are asked how much work would A do, A would do 11, 6 are 66, and so on. A works for 11 days. Answer is 11 for this question. Let's have a look at the next question. The next question looks like initially a time, speed, distance question, but actually is a question on geometry and a pretty interesting one. In fact, first time I've seen something like this, but it was not very difficult. Two ships are approaching a port along straight routes at constant speed. Initially, the two ships and the port formed an equilateral triangle with sides of 24 kilometers. So let's assume the top vertex is the port. So this is the port. This is ship 1 and this is ship 2, right? Assuming the 1 is the slower one, 2 is the faster one. 24 kilometers was the side of the equilateral triangle, right? 24 kilometers, 24 kilometers. When the slower ship traveled 8 kilometers, so out of 24, when the slower ship has traveled 8, so this is 8, the remaining is still 16. I'm assuming S1 is the slower ship. The triangle formed by the new position of the two ships. So now definitely the faster ship has traveled more than 8. So let's assume the faster ship is somewhere over here. Now S1 is over here. So S2 is somewhere over here. I don't know exact point, but somewhere over there. P cannot change. The port doesn't change its position. The port remains as it is. Then the triangle formed by the new position of the two ships and the port became a right angle triangle. Very interesting. So this became a right angle triangle. Just pushing the S2 over here a little bit to make it look like a right angle triangle. Obviously this angle was 60 degrees. We knew that. This angle can only be 90. This angle cannot be 90. So this angle obviously becomes 30. So we have got triangle PS1, S2, the new triangle, as a 30, 60, 90 triangle. You want to just name these points something else, X and Y also, I'm okay. So that there's no confusion between S1 and S2. So PXY is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And once I saw that, I knew that the question was not very difficult. So I know that the hypotenuse is 16, that is side opposite to 90 is hypotenuse 16. So therefore, PY will come out to be 8, side opposite to 30. So PY comes out to be 8. Now let's read what have they asked very carefully. When the faster ship reaches the port, the distance in kilometers between the other ship and the port will be what? So when the faster ship will finish, so when this has covered 8, how much is the faster ship covered? So when the slower ship covered 8, if you notice the faster ship has covered 16 because out of 24 only 8 is left. So faster has covered 16. They are asking when the faster will reach the port, that means the faster will cover 24. The slower would have still covered only 12. So would be exactly, because it's half exactly. So slower would cover 12. So 12 more would be remaining. Hence the answer will be the fourth option, 12. Pretty straightforward question. I'm going to give it a category A. Yes, some of you all might have not got the diagram, but that is the whole idea. Even if you had actually roughly measured the whole thing and drawn, you would have realized that it comes out very, very easily. Just put an right angle triangle well and it would have come out very simple. Category A for me, answer is the fourth option. Let's have a look at the next question. Looks like a very straightforward question from arithmetic progression. Average of all 3-digit numbers in this particular series. So 38, 55, 72. So it's a series with a common difference of 17, 72. So 17 is a common difference. Now, if the common difference is 17, when will the first 3-digit number come? if I add 17 to this, I'll get what? 89. If I add 17 to that, I'll get 106. So that's my first 3-digit number. So I really now don't need this. That's all a waste. 106 is my first term and my common difference is 17. I need to figure out which will be my last term, and then finding the average will be pretty straightforward. Now, how do I do that? How do I figure out my last term? That is important. Or how much time do I take? Normally, I'm sure everybody will be able to figure it out. So you know what I did? I just thought, okay, I know 1750 is 850. I'll keep adding 70. So if I add 1750 times, I know I'll get 850. So 106 plus 850 will already make me reach 956. If I add 34 to it, I'll reach 990. Right, so 990 definitely looks like the last term. So again, you know, there could be a lot of ways in which you could reach this 990. I'm okay with any other way you could have reached this 990. No problem there. I got my first term and my last term, which means my average will be nothing but the sum of these two divided by 2. Obviously, I just need to figure out the number of terms, but you can do that. So the average which I'm looking for will be 106 plus 990 divided by 2. That will be 691096, right? 1096 divided by 2, that will be 548. Pretty straightforward question. Even if you took a little bit extra time to do it, worth it, but definitely a category A for me. Let's have a look at the next question. The next question had a couple of approaches which I thought of. Slightly difficult question, difficult to think of the approaches which we're talking about, but let's have a look at it. The minimum possible value for this, where x is less than 3, is what? Now, one approach which when I thought of it immediately was to use derivatives. Now I know 90% of the audience doesn't prefer that, but this is for all the engineers who prefer derivatives or can do this very easily with derivatives. I would have done it, just be safe and finish it off. So one way is do derivatives, use your u by v formula. So that's quickly showing that derivative part. dy by dx will be, taking that as y, dy by dx will be v into derivative of u, which will be 2x minus 6 minus x square minus 6x minus 10 into derivative of v, which is minus 1, upon v square, which does not matter because I am going to equate this to 0, right? So 3 minus x into 2x minus 6. So 3 into 2x will be 6x, 3 into minus 6 will be minus 18, minus x into 2x will be negative 2x square, minus x into plus minus 6 will be plus 6x. Yes, I know I could have used 2 common, taken x minus 3 the whole square, all that, but that's okay, not really needed. Minus minus plus, so I'll have a plus x square minus 6x plus 10, that is not minus 10 but a plus 10 over here, and this is equal to 0. So we are left with negative x square, 6x and minus 6x cuts out, so I'm left with a plus 6x, minus 18 plus 10 is minus 8 is equal to 0, divided by negative 1, so x square minus 6x plus 8 is 0. So I get x is 2 or x is 4. X cannot be 4 because they said x is less than 3, so x is 2. Just put the value in the question of x as x is 2. So I'll get 4 minus 12 plus 10 upon 1. That will be 2 upon 1, which is 2, and hence I get my answer as the fourth option. This is one way to do it. Could have taken me 1.5 to 2 minutes, but in a CAT exam, when I'm definitely sure of getting a question, worth it. Maybe not the great approach to do it, so let's think of a better approach to do this. The other way, I was just thinking, when I was doing this question, I was just thinking around, if x is less than 3, do you agree if I write my numerator as x square minus 6x plus 9 plus 1, it is x minus 3 the whole square plus 1, which means my numerator can never be negative, it's always positive. My numerator is always positive, and my denominator is also always possible because x is less than 3. So denominator is also always positive, which means these two can never be my answer because positive divided by positive can never give me negative. Then maybe try using some values and all that, and maybe you'll get that answer quickly too. But the great approach to this question was this. Pay attention. Write the numerator as x square minus 6x plus 9 plus 1 upon 3 minus x. This is x minus 3 the whole square plus 1 upon 3 minus x. x minus 3 the whole square is same as 3 minus x the whole square upon 3 minus x plus 1 upon 3 minus x. If you cut this 3 minus x over here, you are left with 3 minus x plus 1 upon 3 minus x. If you still haven't recollected what I'm doing, put 3 minus x as a. I know 3 minus x cannot be negative, so put it as a. So we've got a plus 1 upon a, and they're asking for minimum value of a plus 1 upon a. I'm sure you come across this 1000 times. Minimum value of a plus 1 upon a will always be 2, because minimum value you can have, because we can have is only 2. There is no other way possible for a value less than 2. Answer will be the fourth option. Pretty interesting question. Again, no, not category A, maybe B for some of y'all, maybe C for most of y'all. Let's have a look at the next question. The next question is basically a question on indices. Doesn't look very difficult. Let's have a look at what we can do with it. We have square root of 7 upon 5 raised to 3x minus 5 is 875 upon 2401. 2401 I should know is 49 square. And does 875 go in 7? Yes, it goes. So something can be cut over there. So I can write the left hand side as 7 upon 5 raised to 3x minus y upon 2, because of the square root. Square root is raised to half, is equal to 875 divided by 7. So there will be 7 ones are 7, 7 to the 14, and 7 5s are. So we have a 125, and divide denominator by 7 will give me 343. This will become 5 cube upon 7 cube. Okay, so I can write this as 7 upon 5, 3x minus y upon 2 is equal to 5 cube upon 7 cube, which is 5 by 7, the whole cube, which can be written as 7 by 5 raised to minus 3, right? So now I can, because the base is same, I can equate the indices. So I get 3x minus y upon 2 is equal to minus 3. So I've got 3x minus y is equal to minus 6 is my first equation. So that's the first equation. Just leave that over here. Now let's look at the second condition. Now they have said this is true for all non-zero real values of a and b, because the first part did not have a and b. I did not even bother reading this. True for all non-zero real values of a and b. So 4a upon b raised to 6x minus y is equal to 2a upon b raised to y minus 6x. If I want to convert y minus 6x to 6x minus y, I can write this as b upon 2a. Now think very carefully. 4a upon b and b upon 2a will not be equal for all real values. Means if I take random values of a and b, if I took a as, in fact, if I took a as 1 and b as 1 also, they will not be equal, right? So obviously this is not going to be equal for all real values. Then why is this equal? Which means the only possibility is that the power is 0. The only possibility is that the power is 0. So anything raised to 0 is 1, which will make my left hand side and right hand side same. So hence the possibility is 6x minus y is 0. We already had one equation, 3x minus y is minus 6. After that, it's pretty straightforward. Subtract both the equations. So y cuts out over here. So we got a 3x is equal to 6, x is equal to 2. Put it in any one equation, get the value of y. Putting it in this equation, 6x is equal to y. So 6x is equal to y. So therefore y is equal to 12. Now we got y is equal to 12, x is equal to 2. We want to find x plus y. X plus y will become 14. Theta question, that's the answer. The difficult part in this question was very frankly this part, to figure out that 6x minus y is 0. If you figured that out, I thought the question was very simple. Otherwise, very frankly, at this step, most of y'all would have been stuck and would have not got it. Thinking that it's an indices question, we should have got it. Everybody would have tried it, but some of y'all might have got stuck at this step and not got it. Let's have a look at the next question. The next question talks about a school has less than 5,000 students, and if the students are divided equally into teams of 9 or 10 or 12 or 25, each exactly 4 are left off. As soon as you're reading this, you realize LCM plus 4. You should realize that LCM plus 4. However, if they're divided into a team of 11 each, no one is left out. So first let's find out maximum number of teams of 12 that can be formed. That part will come to later. Straightforward question. LCM of 9, 10, 12, 25 plus 4 will be the smallest number. So we'll have a 2, 2 5s are, 2 6s are, one more time 2, 2 3s are, Then we have a 3, 3 3s are, 3 1s are, 5 and 25. And then we have a 5. I know we could have done 3 first. 5 1s are, 5 5s are. So now these are all co-prime. So LCM is at 2 to the 4, 4 5 are 20, 25s are 100, 100s are 300, 300, 100 3 are 300, 300 3s are 900. So LCM is 900. Now it every time leaves a remainder of 4. So the smallest number I'm looking for is 904. Does it divide by 11 completely? No. 904 is not a multiple of 11. You can use a divisibility test of 11. The next number will be multiple of the LCM plus 4. So 1800 plus 4, which will be 1804. Does it divide 11? Yes, it does. 8 plus 4, 12. 1 plus 0, 1. 12 minus 1 is 11. So it divides 11 completely. So 1804 is the number we are looking for. That is the number which number of students in the school was less than 5000, they said, right? Now, will there be any other number after this? I don't think so. If you start thinking of it, you will realize that there's no other number less than 5000. 1804 will be a number. Now, we want to know how many teams of 12 can be formed. So 1804 divided by 12, that will be 12 ones are 12, 60, 12 fives are 0. Obviously, we'll leave a remainder 4. So 150 teams can be formed. Answer is 150. Definitely a category A question. Very, very, very straightforward question. Let's have a look at the next question. The next question is on the functions and maybe not a very straightforward one. Let's have a look at it in proper detail. F of x is given as two possible values. It is equal to 2x minus r if x is greater than or equal to r. So whenever x is greater than or r, we will take f of x as 2x minus r. And if x is less than r, we will take r. Then the equation f of x is equal to f of x holds for all values of x where x is, and there are 4 options for it. So for which values of x will this hold true is what they are asking. Now, if I look at the options, there is an option of less, not equal to r, and there are 2 options in which there is equal to r. So what I thought was, let me first check for x is equal to r, what happens for x is equal to r. Now, for x is equal to r, that means it will fall in this category. I know the function f of x is equal to 2x minus r. So let's start with that. F of x will be 2x minus r. Now, but x is equal to r, so it will become 2r minus r, which will be r, which means f of x will obviously be f of r, so that comes out to be equal to r. Now, so understand, when I took x is equal to I got answer as r. Now let's check this is for the left hand side, that is f of x. What is the right hand side? It is f of x. Now f of x will be what? It will begin. Now this part so we already know, because x is equal to r, we know already, r we already solved that part. So it will be f of r. Now f of r will again land up to the same thing. We are talking about x equal to r. So finally you will again get the same answer. You will get 2r minus r and you will get r. That means for x equal to r, I am getting LHS equal to RHS, which means it holds true. It holds true for equal to r, which means first option and second option are eliminated. Now I have to check out of the third or the fourth. Now here, more or less, I have got an inclination that the answer is the fourth option, because it was for x less than r, it was equal to r. So I decided to check that first. So I said, let's check for x less than r. Now, what happens for x less than r? What will f of x become? Right. So f of x according to r when x is less than r is r, what is given originally to us. So f of x is r. So we got the answer for this as r. Now, what about the right hand side? The right hand side would be f of x. Now, f of x we already know is r. So we got f of r. And from our earlier part, what we did in the part 1, f of r will turn out to be r, because when you take x as r, you will get answer as r. We have already done that over here. So again, for this also, left hand side is equal to right hand side, which means we are getting when x is less than r also, f of x is equal to f of x. So for all values of x less than r and x equal to r, this will hold true. So answer is the fourth option. For those who would have tried the third option or would have tried for greater than, would have realized that it is not coming equal and would then be able to mark the fourth option anyways. Let's have a look at the next question. The next question is a question from geometry. In triangle ABC, they have told us AB is equal to AC is equal to 8. A circle drawn with BC as diameter passes through A. So BC as diameter passes through A. At that point itself, you should realize what type of triangle is it. Okay, because if BC is the diameter and the circle passes through A, which means it's a right angle triangle. Another circle drawn with center at A passes through B and C. Now getting the diagram right was very important. This is the original triangle, which is a right angle triangle at A. So this angle will be 90. This is the first circle, BC as diameter, right? They have told us this is 8 and this is 8. So finding BC is very, very simple. It will be 8 root 2. I hope everybody realized why is it a right angle triangle. I'll repeat that, because if BC is the diameter and which means triangle ABC, the BAC becomes a semicircle, and therefore angle inscribed in a semicircle is always 90, and therefore angle BAC is 90, right? Now there's one more circle drawn passing through, not passing through B and C, with A as a center. Now getting this circle right was very important. This is the second circle. We want to find the area which is overlapping between both the circles. So if you look very carefully, this will be the area overlapping between both the circles. Now, this whole area is actually now going to two parts. One is the semicircle itself, which you can see, that is the part I told you, BAC. If you want, I can just shade it with red. This is the part. This is the semicircle. So area of the semicircle will be very straightforward. What is the area of a semicircle? Half pi r square. So that will be straightforward. We already know diameter. Diameter is 8 root 2. So your radius will be 4 root 2. So half into pi into 4 root 2 into 4 root 2. Root 2 into root 2 is 2. That will cut over here. 4 4s are 16. So we've already got a 16, right? So again, clearly 16 pi, because pi, I'm not going to put the value because all the options had the answer in terms of pi. So that was okay. What about the second shaded part? Let's just shade that part. That is this part. That is the area of the segment. Now that's for the bigger circle. I will have to figure out what is the bigger circle ka radius, then area of the segment property. Okay, so let's work on that first. So for the bigger circle, they have said center A and the circle is passing through B. So AB becomes my radius. So for the bigger circle, radius is 8. For the bigger circle, radius is 8. My theta for the sector will be 90 because angle point A is where the sector is. So what will it be? Area of the sector minus area of the triangle. Area of the sector minus area of the triangle. So what will be area of sector? Theta upon 360 into pi into r square. 90 will go 4 times. 4 1s are, 4 2s are. So that will become 16 pi. So area of the sector became 16 pi. What about the area of the triangle? Which triangle we are talking about? Obviously talking about triangle ABC. So area of triangle ABC will be half into base into height. So half into 8 into 8. That will become 32. So we have to subtract this minus this. So that will give you area of segment. And we have to add the original 16 pi. So area overlapping, the answer which we want, will be 16 pi plus 16 pi minus 32. That will become 32 pi minus 32, 32 common pi minus 1, which will be the third option. Not very difficult if the diagram would have been given. So my whole point is that in this question, the whole question depends upon the diagram. Once you get the diagram right, I thought the question was very straightforward, a standard question. Maybe getting the diagram was a little bit difficult for a lot of students. Let's have a look at the next question. Question from Time and Work looks pretty straightforward. A group of n people worked on a project. They finished 35% of the project by working 7 hours a day for 10 days. So there's a group, I don't know how many people, initially there were n people. They work for 7 hours a day for 10 days. We are assuming the capacity to do work is 1 unit. So n into 1 also. So 7 into 10 into 1 into n is the total work. So the total work is 70n. Thereafter, 10 people left the group and the remaining people finished the rest of the work in 14 days. So initially working by 10 hours a day. So this is only 35% of the work. Remember that this is only 35% of the work, right? Now 10 people left the group. So n minus 10 people worked for the rest of the project for 14 days. So n minus 10 into 14, working 10 hours a day, and this is 65% of the work, right? We need to find n. Very, very, very straightforward question. Just take ratios. So we'll have n into 7 into 10 upon n minus 10 into 14 into 10 is equal to 35 upon 65. Start cutting. 10 10 cuts out, 7 ones are 7 twos are cuts out, 5 13s are 5 7s are cuts out. Cross multiply. What are we left with? 13 into n is equal to 14 into n minus 10. That will be 14n minus 140. N is equal to 140. You will not find a simpler question than this in time and work. Definitely a category A. Let's have a look at the next question. So when I solved the next question for the first time, this question for the first time, I thought to myself, has CAT forgotten something, or did they actually make it so easy, or did they make it easy by error? Because if you read very carefully what they've given and what they've asked, two cars travel from different location at a constant speed. To meet each other after starting at the same time, they take 1.5 hours if they are traveling towards each other. That means car 1 is traveling from here, car 2 is traveling from here. They meet after 1.5 hours. So if they are traveling towards each other, they take 1.5 hours to meet. Now, I'm just going to skip the middle part, all that. If the speed of the slower car is 60 km per hour, then the distance traveled in kilometers by the slower car when it meets the other car while traveling towards each other only. So now they're talking about towards each other when they're traveling. What is the distance covered? Speed is given, time is given. They've asked for distance. That's it. So distance is 60 into 1.5, 90 kilometers. Answer the fourth option. I have never seen an easier question in CAT than this. One of the easiest question, I would say, over all the 3 slots in CAT this time. Let's have a look at the next question. The length of all 4 sides of a quadrilateral are integer valued. So they've told us that all of those 4 sides are integers. If the 3 sides are 1, 2 and 4, so I already know the 3 sides are 1, 2 and 4, then find the total number of possible length of the 4th side. So let's call the 4th side as x. Doesn't mean that x is the largest side. Okay, one second. So what is the property we have for quadrilateral, like how we have for triangle? Sum of 2 sides is greater than third. Similar property we have for a quadrilateral. Sum of 3 sides has to be greater than the 4th. So there are 2 cases I'll have. Case 1, where x is the largest side. Now, if x is the largest side, sum of the remaining 3 sides has to be greater than x. So 1 plus 2 plus 4 has to be greater than x. So x has to be less than 7, right? X has to be less than 7. That's the first property I get. Now, so less than 7, it can take a lot of values. I don't think so. They have said that all sides are distinct. So we can take less than 7. We can take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But case 2, I will have to consider also where x is the 4 is the largest side, where 4 is the largest side. Now, if 4 is the largest side, what will I know? 1 plus 2 plus x has to be greater than 4. So, x has to be greater than 4 minus 3, which will be 1. So, x will have to be greater than 1. So, we have 2 conditions. X has to be greater than 1, less than 7. So, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, we have these possible values. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 possible values, and hence 5 possible values. Answer will be the first option. Straightforward question. If you knew the property that sum of 3 sides of a triangle of a quadrilateral has to be greater than the 4th. If you know that, this was a definitely category A question. Let's have a look at the next question. The next question is again a question on averages. Consider 6 distinct natural numbers so that the average of the 2 smallest numbers is 14. So 6 numbers are there, they are all distinct. 4, 5, 6. The average of these 2 is 14. Average is 14, so total is 28. I don't know what I will use, so I'm just writing both of them down. And the average of the last 2 numbers is 28. So the average of these 2 is 28. Total is 56. Then the maximum possible value of the average of these 6 numbers is what? Now, I want to maximize this. Now, if I want to maximize the total average, I want to maximize these 2 numbers and they are all distinct, right? So what is the maximum value I can go to? Now, these 2, if their average is 28, if I want this number to be maximum, this can be 27 and this can be 29. I can keep making it smaller, but I don't want that because I want these numbers bigger. So 27 and 29 will give me an average of 28. Now, this was the main part of this question. Once you realize 27, 29, rest all was very simple. This could be taken 26 and this can be taken 25. That means the average over here becomes 25.5. You can find the average of all of them by adding 14 plus 25.5 plus 28 divided by 3, or totals 28 plus 51 plus 56 divided by 6. Same thing it will come to. So that will be 42, 42 plus 25, 67.5 divided by 3, which will be 22.5, which is the fourth option. I thought a pretty straightforward question. Would love to put it to category A, maybe category B for some of you all who could not figure out why 27 and 29 over here.